Dr. Heemed out.
Hey everybody, how's it going? I'm Dr. Heemed out. I was recently robbed of a championship belt because Dylan didn't want to pay for international shipping to Canada. I've got the...
So we're going to go on to the next guy. It's going to be Hutch. I don't know. He had some technical problems. I don't know what that happened there. That's strange. Hutch.
Some kind of side effect 5 years from now, and you're gonna see that the vaccine's kind of some sort of side effect. Whether or not that's dangerous or not, that's something that's still yet to be seen. But to move forward, this is a conversation you have to have with your doctor. I'm not saying to get vaccinated. I'm also saying not to stay unvaccinated. What I'm saying is have this conversation with your doctor and come up with a conclusion with your doctor, with the person who has the most information.
I agree.
And can advise you the most.
Okay, so do you think that conversation should be had on social media or, like you said, with your doctor?
I would like to thank you all for coming to the Hippy Dippy Roundtable. I appreciate you all taking times out of your busy schedule to bring forth a little discourse on this Friday. I want to also thank everybody who took part in last week's Hippy Dippy Rumble. It was the most successful Rumble and Hippy Dippy brand or Dylan Burns stream we've ever had. It broke records for the type of show we're trying to put together. I want to thank everybody who took part in that. Josie Rose, Sprouticus, Shark Zero, Dr. Heemed out, and a lot of other people who helped put that show together. I'll make sure we don't have any ranked choice voting tonight, though. I'll be very careful about that. So, we have a bunch of topics tonight we want to get to, but first I want to get through some rules. The first rule, of course, is nothing against terms of service. All of us want to keep our channels. None of us wants to lose our channels. Let's make sure we stay within the bounds of what Twitch calls appropriate content for its platform. The second rule is that when I am talking, no one else is talking. I am not talking to give my opinion. I'm certainly just talking to make sure that there's moderation. And so if you're talking and I start talking, just gotta shut it down. I swear I don't have a personal grudge against any of you, except for Shark, because I'm better at Zelda games than he is. And I will do my best to moderate fairly. The next rule, of course, is we will not do personal attacks based upon immutable characteristics. That means you're not going to be going after somebody in some racist tirade, sexist tirade, or anything like that. So that also includes no racial slurs of any sort. And if you're in your head is this a racial slur? Just don't say it, okay? Because we've had that happen before about I don't know if this is a racial slur or not. If you're considering it in your head, just don't say it. It's really easy. Other than that, there is a system we have here where if you raise your hand, I will write your name down and eventually bring the conversation over to you. This should not be the first thing you do. This should be the last thing you do. If it is too difficult for you to budge into a conversation, because we know how these roundtables go, raise your hand, I'll write your name down, and eventually I'll bring it over to you. Try not to too much rely on that, but that is in your back pocket if you ever need it. Besides that, for every topic, there will be an intro and outro section where everybody will have a shortened period of time where nobody can interrupt them, where they will be able to say their position on the topic going into a conversation and say their position on the topic going out of the conversation. Is there any confusion about any of the rules or any clarification needed? No. Wonderful. So I'm going to give everybody a short period of time to introduce themselves, starting in the top left-hand corner with the fastest growing beard on Twitch and somebody I'm going to start a podcast with soon, Dr. Heemed out.
Hey everybody, how's it going? I'm Dr. Heemed out. I was recently robbed of a championship belt because Dylan didn't want to pay for international shipping to Canada. I've got the...
So we're going to go on to the next guy. It's going to be Hutch. I don't know. He had some technical problems. I don't know what that happened there. That's strange. Hutch.
What's up, guys? Yeah, my name is Hutch. I've been making videos and streaming in the video game space for over 10 years now. And during the Trump era, got more into politics. I've been into politics since I was 18 years old, so that was quite a while ago. I was gonna say I'm probably the oldest person here, but then I glanced at the panel. I don't think that's true. But yeah, thank you for having me on the panel. I appreciate it.
No problem. It seems that Heem's internet's working again. Something about Canadian service providers. Who knows? Heems, would you like to finish your intro?
Yeah, so I stream Monday to Friday, 5:30 a.m. to 8:30 a.m. Eastern. We talk about politics, we talk about life, everything in between, and it's always a good time. I have lots of conservative people who come to my chat, lots of liberal people who come into my chat. And yeah, it's a lot of fun. I recommend you check it out if you're ever up that early, which I know a lot of people aren't.
Wonderful. We're gonna now throw it over to Hard Wooden Sock, new member of the cast.
Awesome. Thanks for having me, Dylan. And good seeing everybody. I'm Hard Wooden Sock, a moderate conservative, I label myself. Pretty new here on Twitch. Just trying to figure out what my channel is going to be like. Right now, I'm doing mainly interviews of people who I don't necessarily agree with and find points of contention and try to figure them out a little bit. So if you like that sort of content, feel free to check it out. Hard Wooden Sock on Twitch. Thanks for having me, man.
Thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate it. Now we're going to throw it over to Josie Rose.
Hi, how are you? Good to see you again, and thank you again for making this happen. I will stay away from the last hip championship topic because I can see what happens. The technical difficulty gremlins come out of nowhere. But you can follow me on Twitch at Josie Rose C, and you can also find that with all the social media handles as well. I am a professional researcher by trade, and I was a political manager, consultant for 10 years before that. And I even did like 6 years Navy veteran for reactor operations. So yeah, got a little bit of things. So I'm excited and let's do this. I'm ready to throw down.
Wonderful. Now we're going to throw it over to Shark Zero.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's me, your favorite melanin-coated streamer. Hope everyone's doing well. We usually do like we do politics, we do gaming, we do a little bit of memeing. The name is Shark300. That's the word shark, the number 3, the letter on the word 0. It's listen, it's a name I made as a kid. Don't worry about it. Don't sweat it. And no, I'm not changing it. Thanks for having me on. We're here to have fun.
Wonderful. Now we're going to throw it over to More Perfect Union.
Hey, everybody. Dylan, thanks for the invite. Appreciate it. Haim, good to see you guys. Looking forward to it. I've caught most of you guys on various streams and stuff like that. I am a conservative by nature, constitutionalist by training, and former Navy submariner. So I know how to pick up the truth bomb and drop it with precision.
Wonderful. Now we're going to throw it over to the Turk, my favorite tech guy on YouTube.
Yeah, that's right. I actually dropped a video today about the Steam Deck, so make sure you go check that out. But I do politics every once in a while, and conservative, just like More Perfect Union, and love to talk and be open-minded and have actual conversations instead of being interrupted by Demon Mama. And by the way, Dylan and Danabo, you guys still owe me for the last panel I was on. $15 an hour is my rate, so I'm still waiting for that invoice.
Yeah, we'll get the Pinkertons on that. So let's go into the first topic. And the first topic is going to be, should the government help platforms moderate their content? Recently, I forgot somebody. And that person I forgot is the true hippy dippy champion, Sprouticus.
Thank you for recognizing that. Vadim surely would not recognize that when I was on the panel. But I am the Sprouticus. You can find me on that Twitch and Twitter. I stream Monday, Wednesday, Friday from about 8 to 11. But yeah, if you watch this and like my views, go ahead and give me a follow. And I'll look forward to talking to you afterwards.
Wonderful. So the first topic is, should the government help platforms moderate their content? Recently, during a press conference, the president's press secretary said that they were trying to assist Facebook and other social media companies when it came to misinformation they saw on the issue of COVID on platforms like Facebook. And it started a heated debate online of if that is a role for the government or if this is the government sticking their fingers where they don't belong, and some even accused it of being censorship. So I wanted to get the panel's thoughts on this, and I'm going to start in the top left-hand corner with Dr. Heem Doubt.
First of all, really interesting topic of discussion. I think we're going to have a lot of interesting back and forth with different views. I personally don't think that having the government come in and regulate social media makes any sense whatsoever. Not because I'm against regulating social media and stopping misinformation, because I do think there's a dangerous level of misinformation that exists on these platforms, but more because I just don't see how it could be physically done. Like the government is already strapped for resources as it is. I think that money could be spent in much better ways, whether it's like fixing infrastructure or there's literally giving people health, anything better than to spend money on. I don't even know how it would work. Would you have hired people reading every tweet? I don't know how it would work. But I do think that some of these social media companies are really doing a poor job of moderating. I have some of my ideas of my own on how these social media companies could do a better job moderating. For example, I floated the idea of having like a 2-tiered TOS, where if you're like a nobody with very little followers, you can basically, tweet whatever you want. But I feel like there has to be a level of responsibility that is introduced once you've hit like a certain level. I'm sure all of you saw Tim Pool this week tweeting about how vaccines don't work and shit like this. I think that this is disgustingly harmful. And these social media companies either need to enforce their own TOS more effectively, or the government can kind of hold them to account to enforce their TOS. I don't think that it's necessary for the government to actually enforce, to help curb misinformation. Just as long as they enforce their own TOS, I think we'll be all right.
Wonderful. Now we're going to throw it over to Hard Wooden Sock.
Yeah. So the government should not be the arbiters of truth when it comes to social media, right? The government has a bad track record of telling people the truth, and for them to push that onto the platforms, whether it be actual misinformation, not misinformation, whatever. I think that should be up for the platforms to decide, and government should just completely stay out of that, because they never really tell us the truth anyway. So, I'm sure we'll get more into it in the conversation, but that's all I got for now.
Okay, now I'm going to throw it over to Hutch.
Yeah, so it seems like a lot of the discussion that took place after the Jen Psaki announcement was born out of a total misunderstanding of what was actually happening. So I'm remembering like Peter Doocy, the White House correspondent, asked her either the next day or a couple days afterwards, how long has the American government been spying on people on their Facebook accounts or whatever? It wasn't like the Biden administration was like utilizing the tools of the NSA to break into people's Facebook and see what they were privately DMing each other or whatever. They were using aggregated data that's publicly available. And it seems like they were leveraging their position of authority in the federal government to put pressure on these social media companies to crack down harder on vaccine misinformation, which, to be clear, is killing people and needs to be taken seriously. So I'll reserve the rest of what I have to say after I hear what you guys have to say.
Wonderful. Now we're going to throw it over to Josie Rose.
Thank goodness you said that, Hutch. I thought I was going to be the only one on the panel that was like, yeah, sure. No, one of the things that we need to understand is like, this isn't somebody, the government come in here and saying which cat tweet you can't post. This is about a public health risk. Just like just like the government goes through schools and teaches us sex health education, just like the government has been regulating and making sure that corporations are not like polluting the environment and throwing mercury into the rivers. Like those things are regulations. And when we're talking about the fact that the Delta variant is 8, the original wildfire COVID, which was the wild strain, they call it. If you got it, it was like possible to pass it to 2. They're saying right now that the Delta variant, that 1 person gets it, 8 people will get it. So the fact of the matter is, like, we are going to see a massive uptick in half of America because only half of the country is vaccinated, and people are going to die. So when it comes to this type of information, when it comes to healthcare and public health risk, absolutely the government should step in to make sure that that doesn't get spread and that misinformation doesn't kill somebody. So I am also wanting to hear what everybody else has to say. So great.
Wonderful. We're going to throw it over to Sprouticus.
So my thoughts on this is that the government is putting its hands where it doesn't belong. The First Amendment clearly states that the government is not to alter people's speech or stop people from speaking, aside from the restrictions that the Supreme Court has already put on the First Amendment. But the First Amendment makes it very clear that the government is not to stop people from speaking. So the government stepping in, something like this, is completely not okay. And so the government should not be doing this. I would make arguments that Facebook should not be doing it. But with that being said, I just think that the government's overreaching, like it typically does, and they're way out of line with this one.
Okay, now we're going to throw it over to Turk.
Yeah, so I actually agree with some of the stuff Heem said. I really think that what was I going to say? I think that as long as these social media companies are enforcing their terms of service, I think this could be handled solely by the private company. You know, we've talked about censorship previously on this channel or panel, and I think we all come to an agreement that these private companies can do whatever they want, right? And I agree with Sprouticus. I don't think the government's role is to weigh its hand on what people can and cannot speak, if that's going through third party and telling Facebook to mute these people or remove these posts. Because I think even Hutch, or no, Heem said this, you know, what is truth? Or maybe it was Sock that said it. Because I think during the Jin Saki thing with the Fox contributor or whatever, they were talking about, okay, it has to be accurate and not misleading statement. It's like, okay, who defines accurate? Who defines what is a quotable statistic, right? Because if you're going to set this one standard for COVID misinformation, that standard's going to have to then apply elsewhere. And do we want the government being the arbiter of that truth? And I don't think that's a good stance.
Okay, now we're going to throw it to More Perfect Union.
Yeah, I mean, okay, so let's get this right. The government determines what's truth, what's misinformation, and then solicits third-party companies to enforce rules that sort of lay that out, right? Justice Brandeis said that sunshine was, paraphrasing, sunshine was the best disinfectant, right? If somebody has misinformation as it relates to COVID or COVID treatments or whatever, the best solution for that is to allow dialogue and discussion around the topic so that the truth, the objective truth, not my truth, not your truth, can come out and the public be edified. We don't need a two-tiered system where, as long as nobody listens to you or cares about you, that you can say whatever you want, and then the moment that you get a following, that you're now somehow subject to somehow subject to retribution from the government if you run afoul of the policies of the government. So I think that the government getting involved with speech regulation, determining what is subjectively misinformation, and then engaging companies to act on its behalf where it can't legally do so, is a very, very serious problem, and it goes against what the constitutional framework of this country allows.
Okay, now we're going to throw it over to Shark Zero to wrap up the intros.
This has been a big issue with a really long time for what the government can and can't tell companies what they can and can't do with their platforms. The thing is that we already have the government regulating these platforms. Things like Section 230 already are regulations. Like, lots of conservatives talk about the difference between platforms and publishers. That's like government regulation as well. When it comes to this, I really think that misinformation is one of the biggest problems that our country faces today, especially when it comes to things like the Republican Party still, like 40% of them still believing that the Capitol riot was peaceful, or like it was actually like Antifa or something. I think that's ridiculous, and not only is a problem for just our general discourse, but is a problem for the country as a whole. I really think when people come out and start to talk about these issues, people really love to run to the biggest extremes. Like, people will say, like Jen Psaki or Joe Biden will be like, misinformation is a really big problem. We should probably do something about this. And everyone goes, oh my gosh, Joe Biden is going to sit in the Oval Office with his laptop scrolling through apps and then flag one app, and the FBI is going to kick your door in and instantly throw you in jail forever. Like, I mean, I don't think that's going to happen. typically what was happening, and from what it seems, the White House wants to put together a guideline for how that has like Facebook and Twitter to have like better regulation, because they are really bad with regulation and moderating content on their platforms already. We already do this. Everybody wants some form of regulation. Nobody wants people to run into crowded theaters and scream like fire. Okay, we can have discussions, but sometimes discussions but I really feel like people like to disregard the fact that while words aren't typically violence in and of themselves, words can very easily turn to violence if that's if it's led to go there.
Okay, so the intro section is over and you all can begin open conversation.
Can I start it off? So as I one of the biggest things I do on my platform is debunk COVID misinformation. It's been one of my features on my stream where I'll find one of these conspiracy theory videos and go through it and like debunk it, pull up the whatever bullshit study that they cited. I'll actually go through the study, look at the refutes, everything, the methodology. The problem is that the people spreading the misinformation are some charismatic motherfuckers, man. Some of these people are like media trained, professional, charismatic, and they will come out and they will say things with such confidence, such extreme statements that to the untrained ear or the layman will easily fall for it, because these are people who have been in the social media game. They used to be just regular influencers, and now they're like COVID deniers. The problem is that real scientists don't have the time to go and make a YouTube channel to get a following of hundreds of thousands of people to which their voices, like if you go see the most prominent messaging on COVID is COVID denial, anti-vax shit. These are the things that spread like wildfire on social media platforms. So if you're gonna say more perfect union, and listen, I like having discussions. You've seen me on CTV stream. I'll come in there. I'll talk to you guys. I don't mind having discussions. The problem is that the social medias algorithms keep pushing you to go further and further down the rabbit hole that you're already going in, because they want to have that engagement, right? I would be perfectly okay not censoring this shit if after every COVID denier anti-vax video, you get hit with the next video that comes up is a pro-vax scientifically literate fucking thing. But the thing is, the companies will never do that because they know that they want the engagement. People will disengage after the first video.
So how do you feel about putting the foot on the other shoe? How would you feel that after an anti-vax or a pro-vax video, there was an anti-vax video? Because what you're promoting is could potentially be biased towards one topic or another. Not specifically COVID, but let's say there's some other topic that has some spicy takes, and then the algorithm goes and puts this other anti-spicy take. So it's like you can't have it both ways. I like where your head's at, but unfortunately, you got to do it for both sides. You can't just be biased towards one political.
There's an important piece. There's an important piece here that you're missing, right? And that's to say that when you talk about people that are charismatic and what they're doing, we got politicians who come out and they say that, well, if you vote for this guy, your grandma's going to get pushed over a cliff, right? Very slickly produced. So the problem exists. The problem exists in the way that media and messaging are populated. The way that the media makes money today is by using the most egregious examples of everything and promoting that, right? So to the extent that these platforms, Facebook, Twitter, even the national news media, they have a vested interest in promoting a certain thing. Vaccines are good. Vaccines are all good. Everything is great. Look, I'm fully vaccinated. I think everybody should be fully informed about what they're doing. And then if it works for them and it works in conjunction with their doctor, they should get vaccinated, right? But we see today, or in the last couple of days, Moderna is going to initiate a study to figure out whether or not the vaccine leads to a higher incidence of miscarriage. Okay, this is the pharma company coming out and making this statement. So if people have a problem with vaccination, okay, and they're being told get this vaccine, it's an emergency use authorization deal. Okay, it's not fully vetted. They don't have any long-term studies. They don't know what the long-term effects of it are. So if people have problems with it, I don't think it's fair to sit back and say, well, everybody should get the vaccine, no questions asked. Okay,
who
I mean,
said-
they're
Wait,
even
wait, one
banning-
moment. Wait, one moment.
Go ahead.
More Perfect Union. I can hear music in the background when you talk.
That's great, isn't it? Okay, I'll stop it.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate that. People can respond. I just wanted to deal with that.
Who said,
gov- the
who
government-
said that there was no risk when taking these vaccines? If you go talk to a doctor, they'll tell you all the risks that are involved. Like, I don't know if any who's out there saying there's zero risks.
Will they tell you all the risks though? Because people were banned and removed
Yes.
off Facebook for saying that there was a possibility that one of the vaccines caused blood clots. And guess what? It did turn out causing blood clots in certain amounts of people.
I don't know what you're referencing here.
Okay.
I don't know.
Especially
what-
the J-
Not-
he
not-
was
not-
Johnson
no
and
one
Johnson.
heard about that.
Okay, stop. Okay, I don't want to have to Pete stop 4 times in the future. There was like 4 people talking at once. Okay, so Hutch, you were asking Sprout, like, you don't know what he's talking about. I'm gonna allow Sprout to clarify what he was talking about then.
Okay, so for the Johnson & Johnson vaccine, there was doctors brought up issues with the Johnson & Johnson vaccine early on, saying that it was causing blood clots in certain patients, and they were banned and removed
Like
off.
6 people.
So stop. They were banned and removed off Facebook for saying such things. When it turns out, after studies were done, hey, it did start causing blood clots.
Actually, it didn't. It actually got
so,
reintroduced.
okay, well,
You're wrong. Stop
I'm-
spreading
well,
false information
I'm
right
just-
here.
I'm just
Wait,
gonna-
wait.
No, seriously.
Okay.
You done?
You're wrong.
Well, you can count-
provide
I
a
think
source.
you
Okay,
can
wait.
challenge
Give
them
us
on it
give
at
us
the
a
end,
second.
though.
Give us a second. Josie, would you like to clarify why he's wrong?
Yeah, absolutely. So they took it off the shelves like responsible scientists when they were like, oh, there may be a risk. They tested that batch and they did the studies and they were like, oh, we were wrong. There is no risk. It was a particular strain in that particular area, and they figured out it was probably a batch failure. So when they did the studies, they reintroduced it. Johnson & Johnson, you can still receive. This isn't like it's been pulled from the shelves and it's all wrong because people died because it causes blood clots. It was proven that it doesn't because the scientists actually checked.
At the time, did it cause blood clots? Yes, because it was a batch failure. So
No.
I'm going to continue with what I was saying because this is completely ridiculous
my-
to come back at me and say it was a batch failure.
It was.
Maybe there should be more quality, right? Maybe more quality
Well,
inspection.
how many people died from the Johnson & Johnson's versus the COVID unvaccinated?
I have a question, Sprout.
sorry,
I have a
but for
question,
someone
Sprout.
to have
Sprout, let me
a-
ask you.
with their
Give me a second.
doctor.
Give me a second. Wait. A question was asked of Sprout. Let Sprout respond.
Okay.
Then we'll continue around the room.
I'm sorry, but if you're going to have a conversation with your doctor, you're going to figure out that COVID's not very risky to me. In my health, it's not extremely risky to me personally. Because if I get COVID, I'm gonna be on the couch for a couple days, and then I'm gonna get over it. I'm gonna have the antibodies that way. Some people will just start willing to
Disregard
take. Some
everything
people.
you
So
say,
some people
audience.
aren't. So some people. Are you serious? Okay, so some people
Yeah,
just aren't
I'm
willing to
serious.
take. Some people are just willing to take the risk of what these vaccines do 5 years from now. We don't have that. These still aren't FDA approved. The FDA still not put their full stamp of approval on it. They said because of the emergency right now,
That's a
they're
lie,
approved
too.
to go on the shelves. No, the FDA has
Stop
not approved these
lying.
vaccines.
Okay.
Show me the
Let
proof
me
that the
go-
FDA
Okay,
approved
so
these
let me
vaccines.
just clarify.
are they getting-
I had one more I didn't state. I probably should have. That we're gonna be very careful on the topic of vaccinations when it comes to this roundtable, and make sure that every claim made is 100% sourced, and we provide that in Discord chat.
Yeah, and if you're going to be
Because-
claim,
Definitely, because this is a very sensitive issue where there's a lot of disinformation around it. And I do want to just say right off the bat that no matter how healthy you are, you can die from COVID. You could be an Olympic, you could be Idris Elba, right? You could be like an Olympic swimmer. You could be anybody, and you can die from COVID. So I just want to make that clear.
Or you can give it to somebody else who's you might be considering your own health. Like, I'm young, I'm healthy, whatever. I'm in shape. I'm low risk, but you're just totally ignoring the fact that you can go out there and give it to somebody else. Like, you might not be showing symptoms right away, and so. I just want to say one more thing, and then you can go. The data shows right now that you have stronger long-term protection from this virus, from catching it, from transmitting it with the vaccine than with natural antibodies. You are more protected if you get a Pfizer vaccine or a J&J vaccine or a Moderna vaccine.
can I make a request?
There's no 5 years.
Wait. We're gonna Sprout. I stopped other people when they're trying to interrupt you. I did my best to. I just want to give Hutch an opportunity to speak here.
Well, before he continues, can I just make
still
a
an
brief
interruption of me.
request for everybody?
All this is
Wait,
still
wait.
an interruption of me.
Yeah, well the thing is, you made like a lot of claims, and so people were responding to those claims, right? If I said here right now, like, Donald Trump stormed to Normandy and then he like stopped 9/11 and then he like, I don't know, he like did a triple flip, like, people are gonna stop me on each of those things. People are gonna respond to like each of those things I just said. So
Okay.
we're gonna let. Well, Hutch did speak first. I will get you, Turk, eventually. There's a lot of people who want to speak. So we're gonna go to Hutch, Sprout, Turk, and then we'll go back around the room.
If this was a conversation about promoting a healthy social media ecosystem where we can all exchange information with each other in good faith and discuss the the actual risks of taking the vaccine versus the actual risks of catching COVID, getting sick, or giving it to somebody else, then that would be fine. But that's not what's happening. What's happening in the space is you have people that have figured out that their audience are extremely skeptical of government, and many of them are anti-vax, and they have a financial incentive to sell this anti-vax bullshit to their audience. They have this tremendous financial interest in spreading these lies, and people are literally dying because of this. And we're headed for a dark fall and winter as people start getting more and more inside when it starts to cool down. And I just think it's pretty sad and unnecessary. But this isn't about a good faith discussion about risks. You're presenting like a one in, there was like six
And they
people that
straight up
got blood
said the
clots. Six people that got blood clots from the J&J vaccine. And people use that information to sell to their audience. Well, maybe you shouldn't get the vaccine now. That's where the problem comes in.
That's the same level of risk as everything.
And then the lie of not being emergency approved by the FDA.
We got it. Wait. We're going. Okay. Going forward, I'm going to be a little bit more aggressive now because I didn't expect us to get into the trenches so fast. But we're going to go Sprout. We're going to go Turk. Sprout, Turk.
Okay.
I see the hands.
So
I'll write them down.
I didn't say it wasn't emergency approved. I said it was emergency approved. It is not fully approved. According to CNN, which I will link in Discord. I don't know where you want me to put it. Dylan, where do you want me to put this link since we're going to have to
put it in the
source
group
everything
chat.
we put? In the group chat? Okay. So let me get to the group chat. Here's the link. So according to CNN, Biden has stated that, quote unquote, the FDA approval of a COVID-19 vaccine could come as early as the end of August. So the FDA approval has not been there for COVID-19 vaccines.
Are you trying to say it's unsafe? Are you saying it's unsafe?
Well, let's.
I'm saying we don't know the long-term effects of the COVID-19.
Do you know the long-term effects of COVID?
Holy shit!
I'm asking follow-up. Do you know?
Is there going to be moderation or what?
I am Okay.
I'm just asking follow-up questions.
Okay, you're asking a follow-up question.
So I'm asking you.
Okay. You raised your hand and talked. So I'm gonna just shoot it from the hip now. Nobody interrupt him. We're gonna let him finish. Then we're gonna go to the next person. Okay? Please speak, Proud.
Thank you. So that we don't know if we don't have the 5-year data on this vaccine. The FDA doesn't even fully approve of these vaccines. They don't know that they don't have the data to say that, this vaccine's completely good to go. It should be a conversation between you and your doctor. I'm not going to say get a vaccine. I'm not going to say don't get one because this is up to an individual and the conversation they have with their doctor and where they feel they're at. For anyone on this panel to say that they're the sole proprietor of information and to say that everyone needs to get a vaccine, you don't know everyone's medical conditions. You don't know everyone's medical history like a doctor does. So it should be a conversation between you and your doctor. And if you and your doctor figure out, hey, it is a good thing to get a vaccine, then go get the vaccine. And if you and your doctor decide, hey, maybe hold back a little bit, wait for the full FDA approval of the COVID vaccine, then we both feel more comfortable for you to go get one, then follow your doctor's advice. But this needs to be a conversation between you and your doctor.
Is that what you did? Because you just said you didn't take it because you were young and healthy. Did you go to a doctor and they said don't get the vaccine?
So I have talked to my doctor. Yes, we both agreed that I'm going to wait for full approval, full FDA approval.
But he advised you it's probably better to hold off. We don't know the consequences.
Me and my doctor had a conversation. At the end of the conversation, we both felt more comfortable with the full FDA approval of a COVID-19 vaccine. I'm not going to go into my medical history as to why the doctor suggested that.
Hutch, you're violating his HIPAA. You need to stop.
Sorry.
Okay, we're gonna go towards Turk and then Heemed, and then we're gonna go down the list for the people who raised their hands.
Yeah, so this is just a brief request. Since the I don't know what federal agency is now currently watching DylanBurnsTV, they probably bumped 100 view count for you. But since we're talking about having accurate and confident statements towards a statistical thing, rather than just calling someone a liar or telling someone that they're wrong, let's rebut that with actual facts and figures and post them in chat as opposed to just yelling at each other, because there is science that goes towards a lot of these different arguments. I am not an anti-vaxxer. I heavily agree that everyone should get vaccinated if their doctor, and just looking at the stats alone, it's in my best interest to not, catch it and die, right? But let's, instead of just calling someone a liar, let's look at the numbers, let's look at the facts, and let's actually have a conversation about it.
Okay. Hemed, and then we're going down the list.
Okay, so there's something that like I think a lot of people are misunderstanding here. The speed at which a pandemic progresses is much faster than the rigor and the speed, the slow speed that science works at. I'm sorry. What do you want? I'm wondering, like, Sprout, what do you want? Should we wait 5 years, 10 years before we make a COVID vaccine to make sure that there's absolutely no side effects while people continue to die and the virus continues to mutate? Obviously, we don't know what the long-term effects of the vaccine are going to be, but we know what it's made out of. We know the components. We know that in laboratory settings they've been tested, but we don't know the long-term effects of COVID either. So I don't know how you're making this this weighing where you're saying we don't know the long-term effects of COVID, but that's okay. But we don't know the long-term effects of the vaccine, which has been studied and specifically made to cooperate with our bodies. And what somehow it's going to have some tragic long-term effects. That's the first thing. And the other thing I wanted to bring up is, just so everybody knows, last month, 99% of the people who died from COVID were unvaccinated. So before you go ahead and say, oh, I don't know if it works, I don't know if it's... The reason it's not FDA approved is because science is extra careful. The reason that the AstraZeneca vaccines are not preferred anymore is because they're extra careful. It's not because every second person is getting a blood clot. It's because the very few people that are getting blood clots, and since we have other options, they've decided to shelf it until they can study it a little bit more. In fact, scientists are the ones that are extra careful to make sure that they go through the rigor. And I'm sorry that the pandemic progresses a little bit too fast for everyone's liking.
Since you put out a pretty bold claim, can I speak?
Yeah.
Can I respond to what was?
Yeah, there's two people who want to speak. Since it was directed towards Sprout, I do want to give Sprout time to respond. Then I'll throw it to Turk. Then we're going down this list. We have to go down the list.
Okay. So there's a risk-benefit analysis, and in any medication, there should always be a risk-benefit analysis as to what happens if I take the medication, what happens if I don't take the medication. And again, this is a conversation for you and your doctor. For someone on this panel to assume that they know my medical history, know what's going on with me medically.
When did anybody say that? When did anybody say anything about your medical history?
Okay,
when did anybody say that?
You were just asking about the vaccine and whether or not I should take it.
That's not what I said. Hang on, let me rephrase. Look, what I said was, should we wait 5-10 years to do robust testing on the vaccine before we give it to people, and while people continue to die from COVID? Or do you understand why it was pushed through quickly so that we can do this? And also keep in mind that mRNA vaccines have been being studied for 10 years now.
So did I or did I not just say have a conversation with your doctor? I'm sure if you're 82 years old, you have a conversation with your doctor. The risk-benefit analysis is going to be to take the vaccine. That's an obvious risk-benefit analysis unless there's altering information that I don't know about, which I'm not going to ask. But there is a risk-benefit analysis that each person must take into effect, and it's a conversation with your doctor, and to sit here and act like you know everyone's medical history, their medical conditions. But you are suggesting that everyone take the vaccine.
I never said that either. I'm saying you're spreading vaccine misinformation.
No, I'm not. I'm literally saying have a conversation with your doctor. These vaccines have not received full FDA approval. The J&J did.
Why are you so? Wait, let me ask you a question. Why are you so caught up on full FDA approval?
Can I clarify? Heem, you said that he spread disinformation. Could you name some of that disinformation that you think he spread?
Yeah, he's basically, I think that when you come out here and you push the rhetoric that you say, oh, you don't know the long-term effects of the COVID vaccine, you're kind of implying that there's a possibility that people are going to start dropping, falling dead from it or something. I don't know what the point of that rhetoric is other than to scare people from getting the vaccine.
Is there not a possibility of a medication having long-term effects such as
This is
5
not
years from now?
medication.
There's not a
This is not
possibility-
medication.
A vaccine is medication.
Absolutely not medication.
medication.
No, it's not. Medication is something that you take on a repetitive basis, something that will affect your liver down the line. That's how you have long-term effects. A vaccine is a 1 or 2 times jab. It's not medication.
Really,
It
because
works
they're
in a
wanting a third
completely
one now.
different way.
How long before they want a fourth?
It's called booster shots. It's still not medication. You're using the wrong term.
I mean, okay. So whatever you want to call it, all right, whatever you want to call it. These vaccines have proved before to have long-term effects with certain amounts of people because everything has side effects and everything's eventually going to you're going to see us down the line. There's going to be some kind of side effect 5 years from now, and you're going to see the vaccine's kind of some sort of side effect. Whether or not that's dangerous or not, that's something that's still yet to be seen. But to move forward this is a conversation you have to have with your doctor. I'm not saying to get vaccinated. I'm also saying not to stay unvaccinated. What I'm saying is have this conversation with your doctor and come up with a conclusion with your doctor, with the person who has the most information.
I agree.
And can advise you the most.
Okay, so do you think that conversation should be had on social media or, like you said, with your doctor?
I think
because you said that the social media companies shouldn't regulate this shit.
No, I think the government I think the government's going out of reach with that, and I think anyone should be able to make stupid statements online if they want to make stupid statements online.
Okay, so we're going to throw it over to Turk, then we're going to go down the list, but then we're going to get back to the original topic, which wasn't even this.
I'm going back to the original topic. So, Dr. Heemdout, a couple things. You said that 99.9% of people.
No, I didn't say 99.9. I said 99.
Okay.
I think it's 99.2.
No,
sorry?
You said 99.9, but provide the source so we can double check your false information.
I guarantee you, I never said 99.9.
Well, either way, it's 99.2. You can link the source.
Yep, yeah, link the source because what's happening right now is, again, the federal government's watching DylanBurnsTV, but just bumped another 50 on the views. What you're saying is misinformation because it's not accurate. Then you go and say that vaccine is not medication, a substance used for medical treatment, especially a medicine or drug.
It's not a treatment. So, it's not a treatment.
Yes,
you don't give the vaccine to someone who has COVID.
It's a treatment.
It's not a treatment because you don't give the vaccine to someone who's sick. You give it to healthy people. That's, right. That's not a treatment.
Okay,
doctors
let's say.
And I just sent you the link. This is from The Guardian. 99.2% of U.S. COVID deaths in June were unvaccinated.
Going back to the original topic of the discussion, some of the things that you were saying are not accurate. Okay, that could be defined as misinformation. It doesn't matter. The entire topic is the entire topic of the discussion is should the federal government be enforcing guidelines towards misinformation and helping social media companies do this?
They're not enforcing guidelines. They're not enforcing anything.
They're wanting to help, and they're tagging posts and telling, "Hey, Facebook, this is misinformation. It needs to be removed."
That's not enforcement, though. That it'd be one thing if they were like, I would agree if they were coming in and telling Facebook, you need to take those posts down right now.
And that's the discussion.
Obviously,
tonight.
they don't have the authority to do that. They're not going to ever have the authority to do that. Yeah, but that's not what
is happening. Actually, do it right. They're basically suggesting to the social media companies, "Hey, help us out here." And because it's a message that the administration wants to carry forward, and the social media companies have heretofore been willing to work towards leftist causes. Okay, so it's like a willing thing. They don't have to order them to do it; they're getting the thing. And also, I just need to call this out because when Sprout has not said, okay, that he is anti-vaccine, he simply said this is a pragmatic approach. Okay, that there may be crackpots out there who's saying all vaccines are all bad all the time. Those guys are idiots. Okay, but Polly, I think when he said that the full authorization hadn't been granted, you threw your hands up like he was somehow telling a fib, and he's exactly correct. Full authorization from the FDA has not been granted.
Can you define what that means? No, can you define to me the term, like what full authorization means different from emergency authorization?
Would you agree that there's a difference between emergency use authorization and authorization?
Not really compared to like if you think about it, right? Like the thing is, I'm asking you a direct question because full authorization means so much. So tell me what that thing is.
That means it's been fully vetted, tested, and the long-term effects, like Sprout was talking about, have been characterized to say that there are no long-term effects. right?
No, we can only get that for 6 months because it's still so new. 5 years is a
Correct.
long time.
No, that's
Well,
correct.
how do you know? How can we?
But what he said, hey, look, the FDA has a difference between emergency use authorization and
So-
off-label use authorization versus like what is, you could take aspirin, right? The FDA says aspirin is good for you. Everybody knows what the long-term side effects are. Will vaccines like the COVID vaccines get to that point? The truth is very probably, yes, they will. There will be probably very small to low incidents of side effects that would be damaging to people. But Sprout's not really arguing that. His
So,
case,
I mean-
he's talking to his doctor and him make a decision.
He's
then
muddying
that's
the
case.
waters.
Exactly.
He's muddying the waters.
Well, you can say that it's muddying the waters, but it's not, right? There's
it
precision.
is.
There is precision in what that is. If somebody is making a claim
Now I
that
need to-
they don't want to take the vaccine because it isn't fully, because the downstream effects are not fully known. Heemed is 100% correct. We can talk about what the benefit is in the short term versus what is the short term consequence for actually having that, right? That's the kind of discussion that you get where you arrive at a practical decision at the margin, right? What the individuals need to do. And I think anybody that's pushing no vaccine, no time, okay, or anybody that says all vaccine all the time, both of those fucking policies are bad.
Nobody's
And it
saying
seems to be-
everyone
it
should get a
seems to be-
vaccine without talking to their
Instead of the-
doctor,
yeah, right, but my
regardless of
point
any
is-
comorbidities.
Yeah, like we're not saying pull
Hang on,
people down.
hang on. I'm going to finish up here real quick. If the government wanted to say, I tell you what, everybody should have a conversation with their doctor about the risk and benefits of this vaccine. And if warranted, get the vaccine because it's going to help you. We think it's going to help you, but talk to your doctor. I would not have a problem with anything the government wanted to say in that regard, or engaging in social media companies to promote that PSA, because I think that's a good PSA. But when they sit back and they tell you that this is all good all the time, which is exactly what the fuck they do, okay? Now we have this problem. And we got Fauci who argues that we don't need a mask. Oh, well, now we need a mask. And then eventually we have to stack 42 of them on our face like it's a Pringles can.
Yeah, he's doing that because he's this fucking like Bond villain. He just wants to fuck with you guys. The villainization of Fauci is just
But he's a representative of the government.
Weirdest thing ever. Like, what possible incentive does he have to just fuck with you guys? Like, do you not like accept the fact that the nature of scientific understanding changes over time? So in the beginning, they didn't have a lot of data to show how effective masks were, and then as we collect
Or the
more
transmission.
data,
For 40 years. Some things don't change. Airborne
Wait, 1
virus.
second. Hang on, 1 second. I got to back Hutch up on this. I got
hop
to. Okay, go ahead, Shark.
Sure. Also, Hutch, listen, you don't understand. You don't understand. All right.
Yeah.
We all know that Fauci wants him to wear 42 masks because it's going to weigh his head down, and when it weighs his head down, it'll hurt his neck. And when it hurts his neck, he's not going to work as hard at work, and America's economy will crash and crumble. The U.S. will crumble, and then finally, socialism will come. That's the reason.
Okay.
That's the reason why he wants to
So
wear the
calm
pandemic
down.
mask.
Stop.
But I haven't had too much time to.
Yeah, but I'm talking.
No, go. My bad. Sorry.
Okay. I just want to make everybody clear. There's only so many people that can talk at once. Thing is, this is a magic trick, right? You have one person talking, you have a second person talking. You can't stack that actually. You think you'd get double the information, you actually get none of the information.
Occurred is occurred.
We lost you for like.
You
3
lost
seconds.
me for a second.
we got the gist of it.
Yeah.
Okay, well then the gist of it is please shut the fuck up with other people talking. Okay, that's the gist of it. Okay, Shark, you finish that point. Then I'm gonna throw it over to Wooden because Wooden hasn't gotten able to talk in a while.
Sure. So, I think a lot of what we heard from Sprout was honestly for me pretty indicative of a lot of like right wing ideals. So basically, what he did, if you want to look at it, was it necessarily misinformation? Probably not. Has the COVID vaccine gotten 100%? It's still going through FDA at the moment. It still is. That's true. Should you have a conversation with your doctor? Absolutely. That's true. the idea that we know exactly what a human being is going to look like 5 years after they take the COVID vaccine. No, unless someone has a time machine. That's also true. But when you lay out all of that in front of someone without any of the real, without any data to back, without any information, positive information about vaccines, and the real life cost benefit analysis that we have to do when it comes to the chance of getting the vaccine, and what happens when you get the vaccine, and what happens when you get the COVID shot. When you don't lay that out in front of someone, basically what you have is a bunch of negatives, and you leave the listener with the impression that the COVID vaccine is a big problem. Now, is that necessarily misinformation? No. But what it is deterring people from taking the vaccine, period. At the end of the day, I don't know. I just think it's really interesting to say, like, you got the, actually, you know what? I'm not even going to touch that. The thing is, when it comes to the government, when it comes to the government deciding what is true and what's not, I don't think the government should 100% at the end of the day choose what is true and what isn't true. But what I don't want is for people like Ben Shapiro, for people like Charlie Kirk, for people like Donald Trump, even for people like Tucker Carlson and Sean Hannity and Sprout and anybody else who talks the same way they do, to be able to lie to people and to be able to mislead them into believing that the COVID vaccine is something that's pretty dangerous.
All right.
For them, I don't want them to. I don't want them to be. I don't want them. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Sprout. I'm talking. I'm sorry, Sprout. I'm talking. You cried this entire. You cried this entire panel. You cried this entire panel. You cried this entire panel. You cried this entire panel about people.
Okay, you're both muted. Okay, and we're gonna move over to Turk.
Can I refute what he just said? Yeah.
Sure.
So if you actually listen to the words Ben Shapiro says, he is pro-vax and thinks everyone should get vaccinated. Of course, talk to your doctor to make sure it makes sense. So what Shark Zero just did was misinformation towards a group of people that he disagrees with, and it was factually false. So how is the federal government going to handle that mistruth?
Okay, then it's gonna go to Heemed, and then we're gonna try to give it back over to. Wait, there's so many.
Okay.
Why? It's just so many people going like this. Like I forgot somebody.
No,
like,
you were supposed to go.
Okay.
To,
I haven't talked like the whole time.
Oh yeah, right. I didn't give it to Wooden. I'm sorry. Wooden, it just he has like a dark room. It didn't. Okay, got it. Okay, Wooden, then
All right.
I'm sorry.
All right, so we've gone like way off the rails onto like what is COVID misinformation, what isn't, what the vaccine misinformation. Like I thought we were going to talk about like government censorship, into Facebook. So I'm gonna try to take it all the way back, and we'll settle the vaccine stuff like real quick. Talk to your doctor. All right, make educated decisions. That's it. All right. Don't put yourself in an echo chamber where you only hear negative things, kind of like what Shark said. All right. Or don't put yourself in an echo chamber where all you hear is like positive things. Like it's very easy, right? Talk to your doctor. Your doctor knows a lot about your personal health, right? And if they suggest you should get the vaccine, well, then you should get it. All right. That's it. All right. So one thing, I want to take it all the way back to the opening statements, something Hutch and Josie said, right? When you were like, well, this is a global health pandemic, right? So we should allow the government to, say what's misinformation, what's not, right? Now, one thing like I hope we can agree on is like when the government kind of takes over or like seizes that power to say what is misinformation and what isn't, they don't give it back, right? So it's going to start with this global health pandemic, right? Which is an issue, yes, but then what's next, right? We go back to Iraq with WMDs and whatnot, right? So if what if all of a sudden another Iraq happens, and if we bring up that that there are no WMDs and the government censors people who say that, right? Could that be an issue? I guess I'll leave that to you guys.
Isn't that kind of a non sequitur though? Because the misinformation that led to the conflict in Iraq came from the Bush administration, who cherry picked raw intelligence. That's how they formed the justification to invade Iraq. That's not what we're seeing with people that are within like the CDC that are studying the data and then encouraging people who can get the vaccine to get the vaccine. So this slippery slope fallacy that you're going down just feels totally irrelevant.
Should,
how is that
should the
different?
federal government
Oh,
should
wait
the
a
federal
second,
government
Matt.
be the
How is that
single?
different?
Well, wait, two
How
people
is
trying
that-
to talk. I
that-
saw more perfect union light up first, so I'm gonna give it to him.
How is that more different than Adam Schiff saying that and Hillary Clinton saying the intelligence agency said that Trump was a Russian asset? Think about the money. Think about the money.
Yeah,
Think about
like
the money
it's-
that was spent by the federal government trying to find out or prove that Donald Trump was a fucking Russian spy.
And they got all
Right.
that money back.
They
It's
made
crazy.
money. They made money on the Mueller investigation. That was a net positive, friend. We
Well,
brought
for
in more money
CNN.
than they spent.
For CNN,
sure.
sure.
Yeah, well, I'm sure.
Oh,
the
when you say
ratings
they made money, we talk about the Democratic Party
well,
because they
the
took
federal
over Congress?
government and the seized assets of Paul Manafort made money. It was a profitable venture to.
but it's not
So
about
that's
profit.
what, okay,
It's
so
about
the government
information
should
and
We're
persecute.
going off the rails again.
Yeah.
Get-
No,
wait,
right.
I don't want
No,
to talk about
but-
the Mueller
Wait,
report.
Wait,
is-
wait.
The point is that what was said in the
wait,
intelligence community was fucking lie.
No, wait. Perfect union. Could you?
What was said? What was said?
No,
the
wait,
example-
no,
I'm sorry.
no.
Is it not me or what?
If I'm talking, no one else is supposed to talk.
Oh, you said my name, so I figured I was good to go. But that's fine.
No,
Go
I
ahead.
was.
Go.
Okay, so
go.
we're getting off the track when we're talking about Trump as a Russian asset. So we've completely left the station now, and so we're probably gonna wrap up the topic soon, completely. So I'm gonna throw it over to Josie because Josie hasn't talked in a decent amount. Then
Thank you.
we'll go. Then we'll just go back to open format before wrapping it up shortly after.
Okay. So I just want to clarify that the opening statement was about public health in particular. And according to this panel, apparently a lot of people have a lot of faith in the FDA and the fact that, oh, FDA says this is poison, so I guess I won't eat that. Or the fact that, all of the regulations that say your food is healthy, all of that stuff is being told to you. And the idea that, oh, the government is stepping out of their way to make sure that we can do that is it's overstepping. And one of the things I want to talk about, because I'm going to talk a little bit more meta since this topic is ending, we started talking about censorship and misinformation. Hutch and I brought up public health as one of the major reasons why we want that to happen. And then immediately the panel discussed about the misinformation that is literally killing people. We went down an entire rabbit hole here on a Twitch panel with people who are I would say, fairly informed. Could you imagine what it's like for the people that aren't informed on this stuff? Hearing all of this information from all different angles, saying, well, my grandmother over here says that it's dangerous, but this person, that's a government official saying it's not. And what am I supposed to do about it? And that little stop is actually pretty dangerous. I'm going to link an article soon here in a second, but doctors are freaking out because the hospitals are filling back up. Here in San Diego, we had 1,200 new COVID vaccine test positive. Not vaccine, sorry, COVID test positive. And doctors in Alabama are sitting there saying that they are telling patient that is literally being intubated to be killed, the people that are dying on their deathbeds are begging for the vaccine. And those doctors are literally telling these people on their deathbed, it's too late.
Yeah.
And I will put that in there. And that is the real information that is happening. So we have done it in the past in American history when we have fought things and made sure we got information out. The government is always telling us what is okay and not okay, as far as like the fuel that's in the air, as far as all of the different things that we operate and trust that the cars that are being regulated to not blow up when we're on the road. The fact that we trust all of these things are all regulations that the government is responsible for. So I find it very rich that we live in a world where every day we trust the government and the information that they make sure is factual to live our everyday lives. And then the thing that is literally killing Americans the fastest, that's the hang up we're going to have because of political reasons. And it's not okay. And we need to depoliticize this and just save the effing country, because we are going to be in for a terrible winter if we do not get a handle on this. So back to the topic really quick is I agree that we should be trying everything we can to kill this misinformation, because if we don't, I'd rather hurt Republican feelings than more human lives be lost. I am totally okay with that, and I'll go down that road every day.
So, but should the government? I guess the conversation we're going to have to come to is: should the government be the single arbitrator of truth? And my argument is going to be to no.
No,
the
the
government.
scientists
No, stop.
do.
No,
Yes,
seriously,
the
stop. So
science.
the government should not be the single arbitrator of truth. They shouldn't be telling Facebook and CNN or Facebook and Twitter what is misinformation and
So
what
do you
isn't
speed
misinformation,
everywhere you
because that
go?
is the arbitrator of truth.
Do you-
I'm
do you
gonna.
say-
Are you serious? You done?
It's a straw man argument.
Okay, so
Yeah, I mean-
the government should be should not be the single arbitrator of truth. And the left would agree with that
Nobody's
statement.
making that
So the
argument.
left-
Your premise is wrong. Your premise is like we're trying to say that the government needs to be arbiter of all truth, and we're not making that argument. So the fact that you're making an argument on a false premise is just wrong.
It's
so
not
stop
on the
straw
false premise
manning us.
because
You're
the
straw
government,
manning
the
us.
government would be telling Facebook and Twitter what is disinformation and what isn't disinformation. Then Facebook. And
What if they
Twitter-
just go with the science? What if they just say take whatever is actually accepted consensus science and ban that?
You literally said the FDA approval, which is the government.
So
Okay,
can I offer a
but should we
compromise?
take them as the single arbitrator of truth? And the answer is no.
Nobody
They would
said
be
You take
that.
scientific consensus.
Can I
You
offer
take
a
scientific.
compromise?
Fine, take it away, guys. You
Wait.
guys obviously have this all figured out because I can't make a single sentence. So take it.
Can I offer a compromise?
Oh, sure.
Can I-
Yes.
Can I go after him, please, Dylan? I gotta go
We-
after, please.
So
You don't got to do anything. Turk.
So the compromise I would say is I think it's a really good opportunity for these social media companies to go and reach out to these panels and stuff and get the proper information in order to bolster their TOS, in order to go and exercise and execute that. The federal government doesn't need to be part of this. Each of the platforms has the responsibility to their users to provide a platform that is
I think that's what they're
accurately
already doing,
ever.
though. I
They
think
could
that's
do a
what they're
better
already doing.
job.
Like platforms like Twitter and Facebook banning anti-vax stuff. I think that's they're
And
not
they
getting
could do
their
a
cues
better
from the
job.
federal
We don't
government.
need the
They're getting
government
their
to do
cues
this.
from the science.
Well,
Turk, let Turk finish. Hard
No,
one.
no,
I'll make sure he can get to you.
So I don't disagree with you, Hutch, there at all. But what I'm trying to say is I think these private companies could probably do a better job and implement some more checks and stuff. Like if you're posting a tag that has something to do with health, go through like a questionnaire that says, hey, if you blah, 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 blah. That way they can enforce TOS a little bit better. The federal government doesn't need to go in and say this post is misinformation, this post is misinformation in order to push on people's rights.
It's the federal government's job, and it's the role of the administration. And I'm sure some Republicans are going to disagree about this, but like, if we're going to have a federal response to a pandemic like COVID, it is going to be spearheaded by the executive branch. They're going to be the ones that have the most authority and power to influence people one way or the other. I don't know
Yeah,
where I was going with that, but
so-
I'm just saying-
I agree with.
So,
look,
so
I
like it
agree
makes
with
sense if you're
Okay.
the Biden administration and you're looking at rising cases and you're looking at models predicting how many people are going to be dying every single day come October or November. It's their job to try to get that number as low as possible. And the way that we do that is by convincing people to get vaccinated. And the way that you do that, or to help to do that, is by tamping down misinformation that's spreading by bad actors motivated by money interests.
So
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
So what's more effective, fear mongering and pressing on people's First Amendment rights, or going through ad campaigns
You
and
do
trying to
not
make
have
a
a-
cultural movement towards getting people to do these things?
I don't
instead
know
of
what the fuck
squashing
this has
people's
to do with the
rights?
First Amendment. You don't have a First Amendment right to have a Facebook account. It has
But
nothing to
when
do with
the
the First
federal
Amendment.
government presses on a private company to do their acting, that is encroaching on the First Amendment.
No, it's not.
So you can make
That's
dangerous
not what the
cars
First
then.
Amendment is about.
There
What do
is.
you-
Cars
Also,
aren't,
Dylan,
cars aren't a right.
what's
Wait.
Well, neither is Facebook.
Okay. Wait. Okay.
Freedom
So
of
we're gonna
speech
go
is-
hemed.
it's not.
We're gonna go wooden. Then we're gonna go perfect union. We're gonna go in that order. Then we're probably gonna look at wrapping this topic up.
Okay, so hold.
Shark.
Thank you.
You had a question for me though.
Sure. Was the original question, should the government help social media companies, or should the government enforce social media
It
companies
was
to
help.
do?
It was help.
Okay. I had a
Okay.
feeling.
Okay.
Okay. So I want to say a couple of things. First of all, I agree that like there should be some level of discourse that's allowed. I just draw a really hard line when it comes to public health, right? Like if let's say there was a radiation accident that happened, and you had people on Twitter, Tim Pool, saying, "Don't worry, I don't feel the radiation on my skin. I don't think it's that bad. Like it's really not that big of a deal." Then obviously, in the interest of public health, something has to be done about that. So I think that like there's different levels of misinformation, right? You could have someone on Twitter says LeBron James is the best basketball player of all time, which is not true. Michael Jordan's better than him. And that level of misinformation isn't going to kill anybody. So it's not important. But when it comes to science, there has to be a level of trust that we have. If you guys have questions about the vaccine or whatever, don't worry. Scientists are already taking a look at that. You don't need some fucking idiot social media influencer to come and start looking at the FDA approvals without the fucking necessary education to even digest what the hell they're reading. And second of all, I want to say, you guys keep bringing up FDA approval. I swear to God, people were doing vape juice when there was no FDA approval for time and time. The same people who were denying the fucking vaccine are vaping. Vape juicing. So ask yourself, what exactly do you really care about the FDA approval, or is this some sort of political fucking position that you're taking and not based on science?
Okay, we're gonna throw the wood in.
All right, cool. So I know Hutch kind of pushed back on the slippery slope argument I made, but you know, like I do agree with you that it is like extremely important in regards to public health. You know that we need to do whatever we need, whatever we can. But you know, kind of along the lines of Turk, right, where he was saying, you know, it becomes a First Amendment issue when the government starts telling these private companies, right, what is, you know, good information, what is bad information. I think that it should fall on Facebook, Twitter, you know, Instagram to reach out to science communities, right, to get good information and you know, help and police it that way from TOS. Whereas if the government starts coming in, I really feel like they can start going into you know, overreaching in other aspects, right? When it comes to what is acceptable talk, what is not acceptable talk. You know, so it does kind of go back and forth there.
It would be scary if any administration attempted to strong arm social media companies into banning people. You know, there's obviously like a myriad of like different ways that could become utterly corrupt basically right away. But that isn't what's happening right now. They're using public information, and they're assisting or offering to assist social media companies who have already stated their goal of tamping down on misinformation.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
How do you know that was public information?
Because it was like
how do you know?
She said, because if you want me to find it, Jen Psaki,
the government told you. Okay.
What people post on Facebook is public. This is publicly available data.
Even on a private group?
They didn't go into people's private groups. That's not what they were doing. Because
How do you know?
I don't know what to tell you here. I mean, are you saying like, if you have evidence that that's what they did, you can present that?
No, what I'm simply pointing out that we can't 100% trust what the government's telling us. They do like to hide certain facts of information towards us, towards specific topics, and we can't just wholeheartedly just trust that they're not doing.
We can't trust that when what you post on Facebook is public, and that you can, and people can aggregate data based on like what you post.
That's not his point.
Yeah, my point is, if these comments,
he said we can't trust them
Well,
when they say
let him
that,
clarify his point.
I'm not saying like I'm tinfoil hat here. I'm saying we don't know if the government went onto private groups on Facebook where you have to be either invited or you accept, you like join and you have to get accepted by mod teams. Those are considered private groups. And if the feds have access to private groups like that, it's going through like a privacy firewall that you might not have known that was there. So if they were
whenever you find evidence of that, this is just pointless speculation though.
No, but that's my point. We don't know what they did to get the information they got.
We don't know that they're not looking at my webcam when I'm in the shower or whatever. But I'm not going to fucking sit here and be like, well, they could be doing that.
My tinfoil hat's downstairs. If Dylan, I need to go get it for the next.
Facebook
I
already
wanna get
leaked
it.
all the user
So-
information years ago for the Trump campaign.
We're going to throw over to the union, a more perfect union, and then we're going to go into ending statements.
Yeah. Okay. So, I think the basic take here is that the government isn't the arbiter of truth, right? The news media had a role in sort of vetting and verifying what the government was telling you was true, so that the public could be assured that the government was in fact acting in their interest. I think with open admissions from the news media, even as today there was a news article that I read through, skimmed over, that objective journalism is pretty much dead. It's all about advocacy and narration creation. And if nobody's holding the government, if the news media, which typically had that role, the fourth estate had that role, isn't acting in good conscience to hold the feet of the fire, or hold the government's feet to the fire and make sure that they're being honest with the American people, a lot of people are just going to simply not trust what's going on. And then you end up with the kind of shit that we're seeing.
Okay, we're going to go into ending statements now. We're going to start in the top left-hand corner. Then Wooden Sock, Hutch, Sprouticus, Josie. You get the idea. Heem, start. I got to use the bathroom. I'll be right back. Wooden Sock's after you.
Okay. All right. So now that Dylan's gone, I'm going to take the entire time for my closing statement. I just want to say, first of all, go get your vaccines. Vaccines work. They've been incredibly effective when it comes to the COVID virus. This is some of the best vaccines that have ever been made. You can go look at any of the data that comes out. It's amazing. When it comes to the social media thing, I don't think that the government needs to step in to help. I do think the social media companies need to go a little bit harder when it comes to moderation. It seems like they're trying to have it both ways. Like they want to pretend like they're pro shutting down misinformation, but they kind of secretly like to squeeze the lemon, and get the interactions. Like I said, the anti-vax shits, whether it's, oh, my arm is magnetic, or whatever the fuck the anti-COVID shit is, that stuff spreads like wildfire on these apps. I've seen them. Some of these social media influencers, their previous videos will have like 10,000 views or something, and then they'll put out a COVID one and it gets like 1 million views. So there's an incentivization for these, like Hutch said earlier, there's an incentivization for these creators to push this misinformation because it gets clicks. So the social media companies have to step in. And I will say, and another thing I'm going to say is, like, listen, if you guys don't agree that shutting down COVID misinformation is necessary, ask yourself if it was taken instead of, Tim Pool had this tweet where he's like, the vaccines don't stop you from getting sick, don't stop you from this, Now ask yourself, take away COVID vaccine. What if he said insulin? What if someone comes out with Tim Pool's platform and says, you know what, insulin, nah, I don't think it works. Then I'm sure most of you on the panel would agree this shit needs to be shut down. So in closing, I'm just going to say, if you're against regulation on social media, just keep in mind that we're talking about public health. We're talking about what's best for society, not just like, it's always a weighing thing, right? Like, yeah, freedom of speech and expressing yourself is nice, but public health is super fucking important too. So yeah, that's my take on this. I'd love to see a two-tiered TOS or different terms of service for different levels of presence.
Okay, now we're throwing it over to Wooden Sock.
All right, so Heem, I'm actually going to agree with you a lot here with your take, where social media platforms need to, police their TOS harder, right, and talk to these science communities, get better information. I think that's great. But if the government is reaching into these social media platforms to tell them what information to flag as misinformation and whatnot, I think that we are going to run into an issue down the line. And I point to, like, let's just say Donald Trump gets reelected in 2024, right? And
occurred.
The Biden administration flagged misinformation for, COVID, or vaccinations. Well, he can take that policy and enact it on something else, right? And I think that's very, very dangerous. And I would hate to see that happen. But I do agree that COVID misinformation is really bad. Go talk to your doctor, figure out what's best for you. All right, that's all I got.
Thanks so much. I want to also thank everybody for all the gift subs I'm getting right now. I really appreciate the love, and so does my bank account. I'm going to throw it over to Hutch.
A curd is a curd.
Yeah, if we did like a quick little like thought experiment, and let's imagine a scenario where there was a stoplight, there was like a 4-way stoplight in some big city or whatever, and then somebody was standing right at that stoplight holding a sign saying, "Ignore the stoplight; it doesn't work properly." And then accidents started to happen, and people started to get hurt. There would be pressure put on local governments to deal with this person, and it seems like some of the people in this panel right now are suggesting that, you know, it's someone's First Amendment right to do such a thing in that scenario, just like it's someone's First Amendment right to just be able to post disinformation on Facebook, which is getting people killed. Yeah, it just seems kind of silly to me. Anyways, thank you.
Okay, next is going to be Sprouticus.
So some time I can talk without being interrupted. This is going to be awesome. First, I'm going to talk about what I was talking about, is that the government should not be the single arbitrator of truth, such as when Obama went to Flint, Michigan, drank the water, and said it was fine. That was not a time when the government got it right. There's plenty of times the government doesn't get this stuff right, and we're going to continue to pretend that the government should be the single arbitrator of truth. They should not be telling Facebook what is disinformation, what isn't disinformation. Just a couple months ago, COVID being leaked from a lab was considered disinformation. Now it's being given credible thought. And so the science should never be above question. You should always be able to question science, because sometimes science is wrong. That's how scientists actually prove science wrong. That's how they proved that the earth wasn't flat, is that there was questioning to the science. Science should never be above question. And so the government should not be the single arbitrator of truth. And I'll leave that there. Go talk to your doctor if you're trying to get the vaccine. Have a conversation with your doctor.
Okay, next is going to be Josie.
Yeah. Oops. Yeah. So I've been really frustrated that this conversation has not been about the government being the single arbiter of truth. I actually have a book on my desk right here called John Stuart Mill on Liberty. It's a novella about the freedom of being able to speak. So the fact is, like, it even says in this book is the philosophy that the founding fathers used to understand what liberty is. And they specifically talk about how the freedom of speech is used in the way that it is. No one here is advocating for the single arbiter of truth. And to say that this is what this conversation has been about is completely skirting the fact that we are using government information and science to actually solve major issues, especially when it comes to saving our lives. The government has been giving guidance on how things in science should be regulated for a long time. I'm a scientist. I actually do survey research, and I understand what these scientific studies say, and I'm very scientifically literate on this stuff. But I'm not going to go in and say, hey, I'm not sure this is going to happen because 1% or 2% or 3% of this says this. I'm going to use the science and the experts in the field and use their information for the best value. And that's what the people in the government are doing, because believe it or not, the government isn't just the president of the United States. It is a massive amount of people that are hired for their specific purposes of trying to protect our citizenry. And the fear mongering that is happening around like the government is absolutely ridiculous. The government is there for us. The government has had all of us in this panel have thrived from the US government in some way or some form. So I don't like the mythologizing of what the US government is and is supposed to do, because that's not the conversation. The conversation is about making sure people stay safe and making sure that the government regulates this type of information to ensure that we get the right information, and they would be backed by science. This is what's great about the government that a lot of people here don't like. There is public accountability. People are elected. We can actually do fact-finding missions. If you really are afraid that the government is telling you something wrong, you can actually go and sue. You can actually go and do an investigation. So the idea that the government is the arbiter of truth, well, guess what? We're elected by the government. The government's we the people. So if you believe in this constitution in the way that you do, then you would understand that our government is ours and it's there to protect us, for us, run by us. So I don't understand why that's lost in the idea that the government is this arbiter of things when we put the government in charge in the first place, and we're the ones that keep it in check. So that's my point, and that's just basic governments and comparative politics of the United States.
Okay, now we're going to throw it over to Shark.
Sure. Yeah, I don't think anyone. I don't know. I just keep hearing the term government is the pure arbiter of truth. When no, I don't think anyone ever said that the government should be the pure arbiter of truth. At the end of the day, there are like a couple people that you could possibly trust. You could trust your doctor. You could trust like lots of people. But the governing body that we have doesn't always do a great job, and that's why we have things like courts, and that's why we have things like public accountability and elections. So if the government's doing a bad job, you could vote it out. If the government's doing a bad job, you could sue it. You could do this at any point in time. If the government enacted a law on Twitter that went against its First Amendment rights and then hurt its business, it'll just sue, and it probably, with a conservative Supreme Court, it'll probably win. So the idea that this was ever about like the government completely coming in and telling and then owning Twitter and then telling it whatever to do, I think is just like ridiculous. Nobody ever said that. At the end of the day, I'd much rather have the government help Twitter and Facebook flag information with its vast amount of resources compared to Twitter and Facebook's comparatively finite amount of resources than have people have, you know, massive talking heads who have a financial incentive and have absolutely no accountability besides how much money they make and how much views they get and how much ad revenue drops into their pocket to hold them accountable for the things that they say. At the end of the day, I'd really like that to be more of a world that we live in than one that's like a madhouse of just crazy people saying the most crazy inflammatory things that get the most amount of clicks until I don't know, the world falls apart or something. I don't know. It's the same way we need like rules on driving. You can't drive on the sidewalk near preschool. I don't think that you should be able to just say literally whatever you want without any repercussions at all. Because I mean, you could still say it on the sidewalk. You just can't say it on Twitter.
Okay, I'm gonna throw it over to More Perfect Union.
Yeah, I think, you know, the phrase arbiter of truth is come up. It's kind of like a de facto statement, right? Nobody's actually, the government isn't supposed to be the arbiter of truth, but if they go out and promote a narrative and they get the social media tech giant companies to sort of work with them, then that sort of becomes the truth by fiat, right? So you have to listen to it, you have to go with it. I think the problem, right, isn't about shutting down speech that might be incorrect, or it maybe is incorrect, or is consensus incorrect. It's about fostering the arguments on the other side that demonstrably show the information to be false, right? So that people can be informed. And the whole key to this, right, is honesty and transparency. And we used to have media that would do a reasonable job. There's always been politics and people that favored certain political ideologies over the other, all the way back to the founding of the nation, right? So I'm not arguing that the news media or press has ever been completely neutral, right? But generally speaking, the government is most accountable to the people when entities outside of the government hold them accountable, so that the public understands what's going on. To the extent that we have misinformation, or we have a one-sided argument that says anything that is always good is probably not, anything that's always bad is probably not, right? It's up to the news media and people individually to do what they need to do. I think Hutch, I think you said that the misinformation was killing people. No, the thing that's killing people from COVID is COVID and people's lack of ability to make a choice for themselves. Okay, it's not the misinformation. If you can show if anybody on this panel can show me a fact where somebody died because where a large number of people that are dying of COVID are dying because they listened to some idiot talk about anti-vaccine, I would cede the floor. But you can't, because it's
What
not.
do you mean, Florida and Alabama and all the places that are having their breakouts right now?
I thought
No.
these were closing
No,
statements.
that's
Wait,
not the
wait,
point.
wait,
Whoa.
wait. You're right. This is
Whoa,
closing
whoa,
statements.
whoa.
So the point of the matter is, right, is that we can say shit all day long. Okay. The government can say shit all day long. And when they engage in monopolistic powers, right, from the large social media and tech giant companies to sort of help influence that, then I think we are subject to problems when that story isn't always true. And I'm not necessarily saying it about the vaccine thing. The conversation was more broad about misinformation generally. So that's my take.
Okay, I'm gonna throw it over to the Turk to wrap up outros.
Yeah, so to answer Hutch's thought experiment, if I am unvaccinated and I'm driving down the road and I see this pileup of people getting sick, potentially dying, I would be a responsible adult and say, hey, slow the car down. Why is this happening? And then I would say, oh, there's a lot of information that says people are dying because they're making bad choices. I should get vaccinated. That's what I would do. But then I'm going to pose another thought experiment, because what the entire topic of this was, should the government help social media companies flag content? I want to read to you a study. I won't tell you the source, but let y'all figure it out if it should be flagged as misinformation. There is some evidence that vaccination may make illness less severe in people who get vaccinated, but still get sick. Despite this, some fully vaccinated people will still be hospitalized and die. However, fully vaccinated people are much less likely to be hospitalized or die than people with similar risk factors who are not vaccinated.
What, the
Okay.
CDC?
Well, no. Again, let's not talk during other people's outros. So that's it. We're wrapping it up. We're going to go into the next topic, and the topic is simpler. It is Bitcoin a scam? Bitcoin is a cryptocurrency powered by the mystical force blockchain that has been making the rounds once again. Many people are talking about it in many different ways. Some people talk about its environmental impacts. Other people talk about how it could be a profitable investment. And others are talking about its what is it called? Volatility. And so the question to you guys is simple. Is Bitcoin a scam? And a secondary question, but of course I didn't throw this one out there, but thought it might be helpful. Is it a profitable investment? Is it something that people should actually waste their time with? So I'm going to start in the top left-hand corner with Heemed.
Okay, so you posed it in two different ways, Dylan. You once said cryptocurrency in the tweet originally in the prompt, but then now you're saying Bitcoin. So I don't know which one.
It could be crypto, Bitcoin, just generally cryptocurrency. Bitcoin's just like the one people know.
Yeah, of course. So I think cryptocurrency is a really interesting thing. The blockchain technology, more specifically, is very, very interesting and can have a lot of beneficial uses going into the future. However, I will say it's the unregulated nature of it is kind of like what makes it attractive, but also unattractive at the same time. People like the anonymity and the unregulated nature of it, but comes with that is scams. And you can see there's literally, I was on my stream last week and I jokingly said, hey, I'm going to make D's nuts coin. And it already existed. There's already a commercial you can go see for D's nuts coin. So like these coins have gone off the rails, and especially like once you come down from the big guys of Bitcoin and Ethereum, it's so easy to make them a pump and dump. And we see that you can see streamers getting in trouble for that. Or getting caught, scamming their audience. But I think it's interesting to make us question, like, what is money? How would a world exist with digital money? We can already see a lot of our money has gone digital. You get paid from your employer. It just changes the number, your net account balance, So I don't, there's a lot of interesting points to it. Do I think that it's a scam? No, I don't think cryptocurrency itself is a scam, but it can be used to fund or to power some pretty intense scams. And is it a good investment? No, I don't think it's a good investment. I think like most investments, you should just put enough money that you're okay losing. That's what I did. I put a few $100. If I lose it, fuck it, who cares? And if I become a millionaire, then drinks on me.
Wonderful. Now I'm going to throw it to Hardwood and Sock.
So crypto, I feel like aside from the big three, which is like Bitcoin, Ethereum, and I guess the one that came on earlier this year with Dogecoin. Aside from those three, I mean, I feel like all like the really small ones, like he mentioned, like D's Nuts coin, right? Like it's probably going to be a scam, and I mean, good luck. It's a gamble. Like all cryptocurrency is basically gambling. So is gambling a scam? I don't know. Not really, because I think like you're taking an a risk, no matter what you're investing in. I don't know. I think like Bitcoin could be useful, if we go into like a globalized like market, or Ethereum, because I know they're doing some interesting things. Dogecoin's just a meme that you can like throw $50 in and see where it goes. So I don't know. I look at it more as gambling than actual, investment. That's kind of my take.
Okay, now I'm going to throw it over to Hutch.
Yeah, so I'm definitely not qualified to opine about whether or not crypto in general is a scam. But once we get to a point where influencers are pumping up the value of a coin, of like a meme coin, and then dumping it to make, tens of thousands of dollars off of their unsuspecting fans, then, obviously that's a scam. I have so many questions because I've been told that that's not even technically illegal. Maybe somebody could expand on that at some point. And I have to question, like why is it impossible to regulate it on that level? Like, why can't we implement some kind of legislation to make sure that they can't do those kinds of schemes? Because that shit is just absolutely disgusting. Like, and I would also recommend, there's a YouTuber named CoffeeZilla, and he's done a lot of like really interesting, good, well-informed, like he clearly knows what he's talking about, videos of some of these crypto scams. Also, one of the co-founders of Dogecoin did a tweet thread recently, and one of the tweets within that thread, he said, the cryptocurrency industry leverages a network of shady business connections, bot influencers, and pay-for-play media outlets to perpetuate a cult-like, quote-unquote, get-rich-quick funnel designed to extract new money from the financially desperate and naive. So I thought it was interesting that, one of the people that literally founded one of these meme coins had that to say about it. So anyways, I'm going to have more questions and answers on this one. So I look forward to hearing what you guys have to say.
Wonderful. I'm going to throw it to Turk. I'm going to throw him a curveball, breaking out of the order.
That's fine. So I do a lot of crypto and I mine coins. I've made videos on how mining for crypto can actually invalidate the specifications on your graphics cards and all that stuff. So I could argue actually both sides on this, but I'm more in favor of crypto not being a scam because, like Heem said, once we can actually put our mind around what a digital currency actually means when it comes to a transaction, and it's not this volatile marketplace, it actually becomes a much more lucrative thing to talk about instead of having a government defining what the value of something is. We define what the value of it is. We get to determine how that value is exchanged for goods and services. But going against what some of the other people said, once you cash out a crypto, you are getting capital gains and all that stuff. So as long as the crypto stays in crypto and you're not swapping it around places and stuff, you're still in the clear. But I'm an open book here. I can definitely resonate with, some of the stuff attached to crypto can be scams, but the digital currency itself, I think, is a potential place to put value. It's a question of how much is the value? What is the value? Is that value stable?
Okay, now we're going to throw it over to Josie.
Okay. So to be fair, I don't know so much about Bitcoin. And however, I will say that I know enough about like the environmental damages, that it takes a lot of energy to use. We have a precious metal shortage. I mean, I'm so lucky I was even able to get the graphics card in my computer that I'm running now, because there's just all of those precious metals that are basically being used to mine more Bitcoins and graphics cards and media such as that. And my last point, and going to the topic, which is the scam piece. The reason it's a scam is because it's a completely unregulated marketplace. it's going to lead to criminal activity. A lot of people are hurt, especially in the what do you call it, the child sex trafficking and child pornography. A lot of Bitcoin exchanges are used because you can't trace them because of the blockchain feature on how that stuff works. So there's a lot of illegal activity that happens. So that's one of the reasons why governments don't normally go into Bitcoins that much. I think we had one that did it, but it's because that unregulated market and being tainted with a very sinister underground economy that could be associated with those as well. So I think that if for a system of economic system to be able to work, we need to have some form of regulation to police it, just for the basic human rights that it's starting to create problems anyway. So yeah, because of that, I am kind of against cryptocurrency until I see a more valuable way or a more reasonable way to regulate the market, as well as able to like keep crime out, and yeah, so people don't lose everything to just gone. This money just disappeared. That's really scary for people, and I don't like that.
Okay, now we're gonna throw it over to Shark.
Sure. So generally, is crypto a scam? I'm not sure if I can really say like it is just like a scam, period. There's a lot of scammy activity and a lot of pretty reprehensible activity connected to the industry, a cult like following, and a lot of social media influencers. The hottest new fad is to get a bunch of fans and then have someone make a coin, then email you about it. You have all your fans sign in, and then you pump, and then you dump, and you leave your entire fans. You leave all your fans, everyone who bought in, holding the bag while you run away with all their money. You do it over and over again. The FaZe K and FaZe Banks got in trouble about this. Aiden Ross was getting in trouble about this. Like MILF token and Dink Doink, just shit coins used to make a lot of money off of unsuspecting people. With a culture surrounding Bitcoin of like, oh man, you could be the next Bitcoin millionaire. You could put your money into this next new shit coin, and look at you, you're going to be bumping elbows with Bill Gates and Jeff Bezos one day. When more likely than not, you're going to be losing all of your money, and you're going to get scammed. Like right now, it's extremely volatile. I say if you have a stock portfolio, I have a stock portfolio. If you have a portfolio, I mean, you could find a coin that you think that probably won't steal all of your money, and you could put like 1 or 2% into it, and I don't know, see how things goes. Maybe you'll make some money, probably won't, especially with the market right now. But there's just, I think it's just like way too, our laws are way too slow to keep up with a lot of technology, and there are way too many people looking to make so much money off of you right now for me to say that I'm comfortable with people that I know and I like trying to get into lots of the 99.999% of cryptocurrencies, unless I don't like them, where I don't know if they lose their money. I guess I'll make a video about it.
Okay, next is going to be Perfect Union.
Well, I think everybody on this panel for this question has actually brought something pretty solid to the table. Once you get outside the big two, I would argue that Dogecoin is not really a serious player, right? It's a meme coin. Matter of fact, created as a meme, right? Just like D's nuts. So to the extent that, if you were in Bitcoin when it was initially done, I think you could make your money. For everybody else, it's a crapshoot. And if you want to throw money into it, that's fine. It is unregulated. There are a lot of pump and dumps campaigns that were done. If you actually look at any of the coin exchanges, you can see that Bitcoin is up or down 5% every other day, and it's looked like somebody is just actually milking it up, milking it down, riding it up and down, and making money on the delta. Most people can't afford to put enough money into the big Bitcoin or Ethereum to make it worth their while. So I think everybody out there is thinking like fear of missing out, and they're just going to get themselves trapped for something. Dogecoin, other than it being the official currency of the Infinity Acre Wood and the Wolf Pack, I just don't see that there's any real value for it. So I think, though, as Turk kind of indicated, in the beginning, anytime a new technology is there, there's always a risk that something is going to go astray, that it's going to be taken advantage of. There will eventually be some kind of regulation, whether or not that has a dispositive or negative effect on the coin market or digital currency markets, I think remains to be seen. But eventually, I think in the long term, if it gets wide enough acceptance, I think that it could be stable. It could be something that's very positive. There are obviously very positive utilization things that go along with blockchain technologies, and we're beginning to see that already. So that's kind of, I don't know. I'm sort of on the fence about all of it, to be honest.
Okay, now we're gonna throw it over to Turk to wait. No, I already gave it to Turk. So we're just open panel now. Yep, except for Sprout, of course. Rocking with you, Sprout. Sprout.
All right. So cryptocurrency is not a scam. It is a gamble. When you put money in there, you're gambling it. You're going to gamble that the coin is going to go which way you want it to. The entire stock market is a long list of what do you want to gamble on today. That's what these things are. They're gambles. It's not a scam. If you're going into the cryptocurrency world, you should know enough to understand that you're gambling your money. You have the chance of making money off of what you put in there, but you also have the chance of losing it all. Just like when you go into a casino and bet money, you have the chance of making money, but you also have the chance of losing it all. And we were talking about how cryptocurrency doesn't have necessarily an ascribed value to it. You know what else doesn't also have an ascribed value to it? Fiat money. And for people who don't know what fiat money is, it's a government-issued currency that is not backed by a commodity such as gold. Fiat money gives central banks greater control over the economy because they can control how much money is printed. Okay, so the United States government uses fiat money because our currency is not backed by a gold. Our currency is just backed by this is how much the United States government said this dollar is worth. And so if we're gonna talk about cryptocurrencies not having no intrinsic value, then we can also talk about how the U.S. dollar also has no intrinsic value.
Okay, now it's open panel.
Okay.
Now you can go.
I want to say a couple of things. So I think it's really interesting. Nobody really talked about any of the potential positives. I want to point out a couple of things. First of all, how awesome would it be to live in a world where you had no currency exchange fees when you traveled? That's one of the things that I think is very beautiful about Bitcoin. But I don't know how you regulate something that's an international currency. Like currencies are regulated by each country because they're able to do it, or countries that agree to it. So unless you get every single country in the world to agree to the regulation, I'm not sure how you can regulate it. The next thing I wanted to say was when we talk about like whether or not it's a scam when these social media or whatever streamers or whatever talk about it, I wonder, like, would it be a scam? Like this is my Wendy's debate cup. Okay, I always use this cup for water all the time. If I told my fans, like, listen, you guys can buy this cup right now for $10, and in 5 years it'll be worth $1 million. Is that a scam, or is I don't know. But what is a scam is when they change the rules. So when they post on their website, like, hey, we're only allowing people to sell 20% every day, and then the minute before it goes online, they change it to you can sell 20% every minute. That's when it becomes a scam. Sprout said it's like gambling, and I agree to some extent. It is like gambling, but it's a scam if the casino you go to gamble rigs the game and you're not aware of the, like if there's like you're playing fucking if there's a magnet in the ball in the roulette table or something, that's when it becomes a scam. And I think that's what a lot of these cryptos are doing. If there were good faith cryptos, which I think Bitcoin for the most part is consistent, then it's not really a scam. You're right, it is gambling, but there are definitely a lot of scams as well.
Right.
Yeah, I would make an argument that when you buy stock in the stock market, if you are looking at value and things like that, you're not gambling, right? You're making an educated play that a stock is going to go up or go down over the long term. I think if you get into options trading, yeah, that's a bit more gambling. That's, day trading and stuff like that, right? That becomes more gambling-esque. But there are disciplines to make money in the market with these various things. So if you don't understand the market and you get into it, you are gambling.
Is poker gambling?
No question about that.
Is poker gambling?
No, it is not. It's a game of skill.
Poker is gambling, though. You bet money.
You can disagree with More Perfect Union.
Time out. Poker is recognized as a game of skill. That is why it is able to be played in places outside of Las Vegas. Okay, it is not gambling.
I don't
Blackjack
disagree. Yeah, I don't wait, but blackjack has skill as well. No,
but hang on. I don't want to get too far. I don't want to get in the weeds on that. Right? You asked a simple question. I gave you a simple answer. No, it's not.
Okay.
If you can show me that it is gambling, Sprout, I'll let you. I'll let you do. Okay. But the bottom line is, right, when you talk about gambling and when you have an unregulated market and you can do these pump and dump things, it's just like the penny stock markets, right, which are more regulated, but still subject to pump and dump, right? So ultimately, a lot of things get into people being well informed, making sure that you understand the market that you are getting into so that you're not taken advantage of. And people that honestly that are all about YOLO or FOMO, they're suckers, just like P.T. Barnum said, there's one born every minute, and the guys that are pumping and dumping are going to take advantage of them. So the question for you out there in the public is to not be that sucker.
So I do want to point something out. I don't know which one said it, and maybe they can say they said it after I say what they said. But it was either Dr. Heemdout or More Perfect Union. When they said we're talking about casinos, if the casinos rigged the game, then that'd be something different. Was that you, Dr. Heemed?
Yeah, I said if you go in with some expectation that the game has some odds, and then unbeknownst to you the odds are changed, then that's a scam in my opinion.
But the casinos do rig these games.
No,
These
I
games
understand.
are rigged to certain...
Yeah, I understand. The games have odds. Yeah, of course. But I'm saying, as the player, that you're going into a roulette game, you have a 48% chance of winning or of landing on any number. But if you all of a sudden there's a magnet in the ball that prevents the ball going into any of the red pockets, then that's when it becomes a scam.
Okay. Do you think that people who go into cryptocurrency knowingly know that there's a very low odd that it's actually going to work out, just like people do with penny stocks? That there's low odds that you're actually going to make a ton of money off this, and the odds are very low in your favor. People that are informed going into this. I
agree. Low odds though is different from unbeknownst changing of the rules, which is what I mentioned, right? Like the one that happened with the FaZe clan, they had a rule in their front page that said, listen, don't worry about pump and dump because you're only allowed to sell 20% of your coin every day. And then before the coin went online, they changed the rule. They changed the code to make it so that you could sell 20% every minute. So in 5 minutes, you could sell all that's where it's the scam, right? I don't think that just because there's low odds of you succeeding, that makes it a scam. It's the shady shit that's going on behind that's scammy.
Can somebody explain how that is legal to do that?
It's unregulated.
Yeah, it's unregulated.
It's unregulated.
Could you regulate it though? How has that not been regulated?
Not international currency, no.
So the Chinese government, the way they're attempting to regulate it is that any banks or any type of private transaction that's going on cannot use crypto, and if it is offered, some sort of penalty happens. So that's how China is able to do it. They're doing it the authoritarian way of it's not allowed in our banking institutions. So there are ways to regulate it, but unfortunately, the entire premise of crypto is it is deregulated.
I'm talking about specifically about pumping. That seems like you could regulate that pretty easily, right?
Yeah, you could make a coin that doesn't allow it.
Well, I think Hutch is saying in retrospect, right? You're saying now that it's happened, why aren't they getting in trouble, kind of?
Yeah, why isn't the federal government discussing a way to pass legislation to punish people? They
don't have authority there. They don't have jurisdiction over something that doesn't exist and there is not recognized.
If you're engaging in some kind of a pump and dump scheme in the United, within the borders of the United States, surely they have authority to do something about that, right?
They only have authority once it becomes USD. They don't have authority when it becomes whatever this cryptocurrency is, and that's the point of the cryptocurrency. It's decentralized. It's not regulated.
There's some discussion that's currently underway about whether or not the government should be creating a taxation system based on the conversion of crypto and the gain that you would pick up, at treating it as a capital gain, right? Based on the initial assessment. So they would treat it kind of like the stock market. But the bottom line is that they are not empowered to regulate that. Now, could they call it a financial fraud scheme? Could they call it wire fraud, right? Because it's using electronic communications lines? Sure, they could. But for whatever reason, the Congress has not decided to take up that as a cause celeb.
So what you said is partially true. So when you go to a place that actually executes coin transactions. Like if you want to trade a Ethereum to a Bitcoin, once you go into that company that has the ability to convert that thing, that's actually taxed. And if you make any kind of transactions that way, you end up getting some sort of federal document because the value is changed at a company that resides in a certain
like Cash App.
jurisdiction.
Like if you get it through Cash App, you have to report the earnings that you made or what you bought, how much you sold, stuff like that. And during when you file taxes, they'll actually ask you if you've invested or sold in cryptocurrency, and if you did, what's the amount that you bought, what's the amount that you sold, how much money did you sell it for, et cetera, and so on. That's the government taxes that
the third
and
party
plus,
apps
if you
will
live in
do it.
California, you can be, they're trying to posit you can be taxed on unrealized capital gains. So that would include your Bitcoin portfolio.
The third party vendors like Cash App and PayPal, they'll do that for you. They'll send you a 1099 at the end of the year.
Yes, they will.
And if you go to like Coinbase or any other of these cryptocurrency exchanges, if it turns into USD at any point in their back end, a form has to be created that validates that transaction.
I wonder though if even if you regulate it in America, if you're not just going to get the same thing that's happening with the gambling streams right now, where they'll just take it offshore to some island, set it up over there so it's unregulated, but still have it, it's international. Like unless the U.S. government, like I don't know, blocks it somehow, or
I mean, and there's definitely laws when it comes to
dollars, convert to some standard currency, and then at that point it becomes reportable to the government of choice.
And there's definitely laws, and I don't know if we want to get into like mechanics of this stuff, but like depending on if it's like a capital good that's being transitioned from offshore to onshore, there's laws that cover that. If it's a divestiture of assets, there's certain laws that cover that kind of stuff. So it's like there are laws that regulate how certain items of value are transferred. It's just cryptocurrency, the way it's executed, is the entire purpose is to be decentralized.
But there's something else I want to throw up here. The fact that whether the market's regulated or not, I put something in stream chat from Voice of America talking about how the Chinese government or Chinese miners for Bitcoin, they basically raised the value of Bitcoin by 1,000%, tenfold increase. And then when they turned off all their mining equipment, the price plummeted, right? It went from 65,000, it's now what, 50%? So it's 33,000 bucks a coin now. So the ability, because it's unregulated, the ability of outside actors, whether state or otherwise, state actors or private entities, to be able to affect the outcome of that, right, means that they can take money, they can put money in your pocket, or they can take money out, and that's part of that not understanding the rules of the house that Dr. Heenan was talking about, right? So to the extent that those things can occur, and the average investor doesn't know it, right, they could be taken for a ride pretty quick.
So one of the reasons why the price dropped so bad was because the country of China, one of the largest economies in the world, said they were going to put a squash on it, and they're going through the process of regulating it and saying that it's not allowed. And what's funny is a lot of these larger mining firms are actually shipping their assets to the United States so that they can be, mined here in the States with lower power or lower costs for power, higher air conditioning quality and all that stuff. But all of their wallets and stuff are still in China. So it's like they're just pivoting and running their operation in a place that allows it. So I think Bitcoin's going to go back up. It's already kind of going up as we see it now. So again, it's all about decentralized value and not having a government defining the rules to the currency.
I mean, so you could also argue that the price dropped. You could also argue the price dropped because of companies getting involved, or raised because companies getting involved. Tesla said they would accept Bitcoin, which spiked in Bitcoin, obviously, because the company said they were going to accept Bitcoin. Then turned around and said that they're not going to accept Bitcoin, which made it fall. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
And so you can also argue that anyone's able to play this game, and I would say before anyone invests in cryptocurrency that you understand the rules of the game. You understand that anything can happen anytime. Your money can skyrocket or your money can disappear in a matter of a millisecond. And so if you understand the rules of the game and you understand what game you're playing, I don't see any issue with playing the game.
Well, we agree. We agree though, right? That that it would be sorry, go ahead.
Once again, I'm gonna have Hutch say what he's gonna say, and then I wanted to ask the room a question quick.
Does everybody agree that, like, Sprout, because I understand what you're saying, that like people understand that they're getting into it, that they're taking a gamble and that there's no certainty when it comes to profits pertaining to crypto, but we all agree that it's bad that we all agree that it's bad for an influencer, say, to artificially inflate the price of a crypto coin and then dump it as soon as it goes live. Like that would be bad, right? Like, does anybody think that we shouldn't try to regulate that in some way?
I mean, it's gonna be pretty much impossible to regulate from our borders because it's not the United States. This is an international currency. This is a worldwide currency. If you're gonna try any form of regulation, it'd have to be a worldwide regulation. Otherwise, you're not gonna have very much regulation, if any.
Well, wouldn't you be regulating the action rather than the actual currency?
Yeah, I think you're right. We should not willingly allow or facilitate across our networks that kind of activity, right? That is blatant theft.
So
Okay.
so I would prefer to, instead of calling them influencers, I would say people that are stakeholders, because like what we talked about, Musk changing the, talking about Dogecoin and all that stuff. I think what needs to happen, and this is external of government interaction, regardless if it's national or international, the market and the people who invest in the coins need to be able to say, Elon Musk is just talking smoke. Don't worry about it. And we need to, in the market, and the validity of the coin needs to be stable, external of what some of these people are saying and influencing.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's where I think the users have to make sure that they're doing their own research, right? Sure, it's a gamble, but you can make things that are 1 second. You can make things that are more reasonable.
Wait, what do you mean? Wait, did you just say 1 second?
Oh yeah, because I was in the middle of making a point.
Well, yeah, but when
if you want me to shut up, I'll shut up.
Okay, good.
Thank you. So if people,
I said good. You shut up. wait.
Well, that's not what you said. But okay, fine. Go ahead. It's your turn.
I said after Hutch, I was gonna ask the room a question. Then I went through Turk. Then I went through you.
Yeah, you're right. That's fine.
Okay, so the question to the room is: should people, when they see a content creator make a content creator coin, like let's say I make hippy dippy coin, right? I make that. I put that out there. Is it bad that that's being somewhat? Is it bad that that's becoming more normalized? And should people throw their money at that?
Absolutely not.
I think
we are the last people to fucking trust when it comes to that kind of thing.
We saw Logan Paul.
You should not trust influencers when it comes to that.
Yeah, we saw Logan Paul like literally just do this with his coin Dink Doink, made by his roommate in his fucking basement in Hollywood Hills. Make an entire like South Park type skit about it, and then pump it to all of his like child fans and say, this is going to be it. We're going to the moon. I'm holding my Dink Doink, and we're going. The level of just like absolute. It's worse than it's like levering a parasocial relationship to the point where you can just take their money, but in an even less ethical way than having them like buy your merch or anything. It's actually just scamming them out of way more money than they were even fit to lose sometimes.
Can I also just say, and I'm sorry, I'm not supposed to comment on topics. I just want to meet the person who was legitimately thinking, I'm gonna put my money in a thing called fucking Dink Doink, and I'm gonna become wealthy. I'm gonna become rich. It's something called
it's the
fucking
next
Dink Doink.
It's the next Bitcoin, man.
We're all talking a lot of trash about cryptocurrencies and why they're bad and et cetera and so on. I do want to point out that there is positive sides of cryptocurrency. With cryptocurrency in nations that don't allow certain things, you'd be able to buy and purchase things that are outlawed by the government without the government fully knowing that you bought this object with Bitcoin, with a currency that the government can't track.
Like sex trafficking and stuff?
Okay,
yeah, like humans.
So
Like
so there's evils to it, right? We're like I said, we're all talking trash about it, but there's also positives to it in which a communist government may outlaw say Bibles, right? And someone would be able to purchase Bibles with cryptocurrency and then have those Bibles without the government actually knowing that they were bought. It can also be used for drugs, which is the downside of that. I'm just saying that there is potential. There is potential positives.
I think more people are going to be buying drugs and children than buying.
Okay,
drugs
I understand that, but I'm just saying that there's potential positives to this that aren't being brought up. I've already talked trash about it. I was just bringing up some potential
Can I
positives.
clarify on that?
Yep.
So one of the great things about blockchain is that all of blockchain's transactions are public. If you've got access to the blockchain and you can actually do the calculations, you can actually go and see who transactioned what amount of coin to a particular wallet in that said transaction. However, you don't know what the transaction was, what was required in it, but there is a document of where all these coins are going. So that's why some of the I think it was Epstein maybe, where like he received some coin or there was some stolen coin somewhere. They were able to track where the coins were going and whatever, and like the FBI or whatever, we were able to seize all the stuff. So it's like, it's not like that it's like completely black market stuff. It is tracked. It's just not like, you know, a bank statement that they can just go and like find.
Yeah, to that end, that's how they backtraced the wallet where the Colonial Pipeline ransom was paid.
Can I ask a question? Can I ask a question? I want to ask this to the panel. Let's say I put out some merch and I'm like, this is ultra exclusive merch that you're not gonna be able to get. And then like I'm only putting out 10 fucking dress shirts that you guys can buy look just like me. And then like after a little bit, I continue to put out more and more and like saturate, like dilute it down a little bit, the value, right? Is that a scam?
Yes.
Yeah, of course.
Okay. So I guess then this is kind of the same idea, right? But like yeah, I don't see how any way that these influencer coins wouldn't be a scam. Like
I think a closer analogy would be like you say that you have these coins, or you say you have this merch, and then when you go to checkout, well, you say it's $15, and then when you go to checkout, instead it's like instead as soon as you click pay, the millisecond before it the server like takes the click, it changes it to $100, and then it takes 100 out of your account.
That's called fraud.
No, that's false advertising.
No, that's fraud.
It's false advertising.
Fraud.
No, it's definitely fraud.
If you contract a sale and then the price gets jacked at the point of execution, that's fraud. That's felony in this country. So
false advertising would be posting something online saying that Dr. Heemdout's shirt is $15, and you go to his website and now it's $50, not $15. That'd be false advertising.
Yeah,
the thing is, I thought it was actually a joke. I thought you guys were going to get it was a reference, but I feel you.
It was a great joke. I
it was a reference, but it's okay.
I think we can all agree that most people don't give a shit about crypto.
Oh, I would push back against that. There's a
except for Turk.
Except for Turk, of course, because there is a definite value, especially when it comes to, you know, living here in the States, because we define how valuable a coin is, and people are disagreeing with me in chat, but it's like, I invest money into a coin. That value of the coin goes up due to whatever reasons. At any point, I am welcome to take that coin and transfer it or transition it to whatever I want. It's practically the stock market at this point. And if you decide to buy Doge 2.0 because it sounds cool, well, that's on you because you made a really not sound financial decision. But if you decide to go with, crypto or Bitcoin, it's got a pretty well-proven track record and it's a pretty stable investment. So what's the bigger gamble, investing in Bitcoin or investing in GameStop?
I think one of the problems is
I just want to clarify for chat that everybody in here is a financial expert, and you should get all of your economic and financial information from Twitch streamers. Do that, please. That's a brilliant idea.
Hippy dippy coin.
Hippy dippy coin is coming soon.
I want to say one thing that I don't think we touched on is that there's no age verification, or that it opens up for underage people to participate. No.
Yeah, so it depends how you're procuring stuff.
Sorry, so the reason I'm saying this is because I think, now I could be wrong about this too. To buy stocks, don't you have to be an adult?
No,
I'd have to check.
Yes, you have to be an adult to buy stock.
Yeah. Okay, so that's another downside of it too, is that because of its unregulated nature, and then like you have Logan Paul, whose fans are all kids. Those kids can go and participate in this thing that their brains aren't fully developed to participate in. I mean, it's really scummy.
It depends on where, like you said, it depends on where you're procuring this from. Because if you go to Cash App, they won't let you buy Bitcoin if you're not above the age of 18.
Or if you go to Coinbase, you have to create
Coinbase, exactly. So like
Coinbase doesn't sell meme coins. They don't sell these nuts coin.
Well, they don't sell that, but they sell Dogecoin, which is a
Then
meme.
tell me the website so we can go and verify the question you're saying.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. I also want to throw it over to Josie Rose.
Yeah, thank you. So, I guess this is very interesting because there's like a division of like people who actually care about this topic, and it's like one of those things where Turk, you say that most people don't care about it, but the thing is, like, the reason a lot of Americans don't care about this is because they can't go to their local grocery store and use a Bitcoin. And the issue is like, let's say we start investing, it's like, what is the selling point for like a citizen like myself that's just doing other things, that doesn't have time to go and look at a computer and do like market crunching of coins, even if it was legitimate in a lot of ways. Like, I just don't see what the selling point is. And then once, let's say, the United States government and all the world just accepted the coins, wouldn't that also just destroy the market of coins as well? Because all of a sudden there's so many, they're like pennies at that point. And then wouldn't an unregulated market where the entire globe just can create their own currency wouldn't cause like massive problems? Like, I just get really nervous when we start talking about unregulated, decentralized currency that's run by the world rather than like the governments that are running their own currency systems on their own.
You're right. It's far less stable. It is far less stable. There are certain ones that are more stable, like Bitcoin. Bitcoin has a certain amount of Bitcoins that are allowed. You can't have more Bitcoins than what Bitcoins are currently on the market. It's a fixed currency. So that's another
but that doesn't make it
benefit,
feasible,
right?
though. That's the issue.
Maybe it doesn't make it
it's
feasible.
not feasible.
You could buy
because
half a coin. You could buy a quarter of a coin.
Wait. One at a time. Josie, then
So, like,
Sprout.
Yeah, so if every American had a coin, like, would it like it just doesn't seem feasible to have like so many people jump into a market when there's such a limited supply. They would have to go to these other coins and all of these other things. It just doesn't seem like a feasible reality, at least for at least another 100 years or 50 years before like people like myself can pull out our phone on the reverse and then like buy something at freaking the store.
I mean,
or
they do
thrift
have
store.
Bitcoin
wait a second.
ATMs though.
Wait,
So I'm
yeah,
just-
I
I'm
said,
sure you've seen them.
wait. I said Sprout afterwards.
Sorry.
So I'm confused. I think you think that you actually get a coin. If you buy a Bitcoin, there's no fit. There's okay. So you can have 1/16 of a coin. You can have 1/32 of a coin. And the way the market works, you're gonna have people that sell these to put it into U.S. dollars. Because you can't spend Bitcoin on certain objects. Like you got to go to the grocery store and spend Bitcoin. You're 100% correct. And so this entices people to pull money out and to put money back in their bank account. And when that happens, they're gonna have to sell it to somebody else. The Bitcoin's a constant market of buy and sell, and the more buy and sell you have, the prices.
What if
go
I don't
up.
want to
If
buy
you have
and
a whole
sell
lot more
Bitcoin?
sell than you do buy, then the prices are gonna go down.
Yeah, what if I don't want to buy and sell Bitcoin and just want to use it at the grocery store? It seems like there's just so much monitoring that is involved that makes it exactly. That's what makes
Can I
it
clarify
infeasible
then?
as an actual currency. Yes, Tarek. Yes.
So right now your debit card has US dollars attached to a bank account, right?
Right.
So the best way to wrap your head around it would be my debit card has access to 0.000005 Bitcoins. I want to go to a gas station and buy a cup of water, right? Well, eventually there will be mechanisms that can transfer, that 0.0005 Bitcoins for that particular item, right? And that's completely external of any governmental oversight because it's managed within the person buying and the person doing the transaction. Because like right now, I could go to a gun shop down in South Austin where I could go and buy a firearm with Bitcoin. It's completely external of any financial transactions. There is paperwork. You do have to do a background check and all that stuff. But it's like, it's going to take time for the infrastructure to develop. And we are, like I said, someone said there are, Bitcoin ATMs and stuff. Once coins are stable and you can go and say, I need 20 gallons of gas. That's going to be 1/4 of an Ethereum. I can go and trade the gas station 1/4 of an Ethereum to do that.
But don't you think that because of the volatility, you'd also have to change the prices of items and goods constantly to keep up with the shifting volatility?
It could, yeah. But at that point, that's not unreasonable because the market would evolve with the currency.
So
Okay.
you
That's
have
kinda
so
how
many
gas
dollars.
gets
And then
But-
like your wages would also be scaled, right? Like one week you might get 10 coins, the next week you might get 15, or how
I
would
don't think anyone's paying their employees with Bitcoin.
well eventually that would be the goal.
so
That would be
that's your
how it would
goal.
happen. Yeah.
I don't
if you
think
want
I don't think that is the goal. I don't think the goal is for Bitcoin to be the currency of the world and that everyone's
Well,
getting
don't
paid.
you want to
and
stop
sold.
communism?
Okay,
would
so I
use
said there was
Litecoin to
positives
defeat
to
communism.
it. But what I am saying is it'd be the equivalent to U.S. dollars. So what Dr. Heimdall is saying is like the Bitcoin, the volatility of it, the prices would have to consistently go up and down, which you are correct at this point in time. It'd have to go consistently up and down. But it would be the equivalent of this many dollars in Bitcoin if you choose to spend Bitcoin on this item. So like a candy bar can go up and down dramatically in Bitcoin if the value of the coin goes up or down, but it would be the equivalent of so many dollars. And you also have to realize that companies aren't going to start accepting Bitcoin till this becomes a whole lot more stable, because they're not going to accept the currency that they're not sure what it's going to be worth in the next 10 minutes. So it has to be a pretty stable cryptocurrency for companies
Like
to actually
fiat.
start accepting
Like-
this.
Like American fiat currency. Like it's more stable.
Exactly.
It is a
Yeah,
very
got
stable,
it.
yes, stable
Here's
currency.
Yeah, exactly. So that's a good thing.
Oh,
Here's
man,
really-
we can talk about central banking if you want to talk about central banking.
So
but
another thing to
No!
keep
I'm not
in
really talking
mind.
about cryptocurrency.
So another thing to keep in mind is like Bitcoin is not the only coin. You could consider Bitcoin to be like a $100 bill, right? You could think of Ethereum as being a $50 bill. Well, Dogecoin is your, 10, 5-cent pieces, right? So there's a million of these in existence. They're not valued much. So there's going to be all sorts of coins and stuff, and you can attach them to your wallet. So it's pretty much just like how we're doing things now. It's just the infrastructure of executing these transactions doesn't exist yet.
Yeah, I think.
Well,
people
I'm
have to
curious.
understand
Like, should it
value.
exist? Like, should that technology exist? Right? Because, for instance, when we go to other countries, right, we have to transfer our money into U.S. dollars and whatnot, right? When we get there, right? Like, why? Like, should we allow this, cryptocurrency to exist when there are so many negative things behind it, and it is so volatile, right? Like when Josie brought up like the sex trafficking and whatnot, human trafficking, like that's a real concern, and I'm sure it's really prevalent, right? And we have people that are gambling like all of their money, right? And going broke. That's a big concern. Like why should we be investing in all these other cryptocurrencies, right? When we have, yes, the dollar is a fiat currency. I get that, but like, why do we need all these other currencies? I guess is my question.
Because the value is not dictated by the government, and we don't have to pay taxes on it as long as it's not transactioned in a place that's governed by the government.
Yeah, but isn't that just offshoring our money when we buy this?
Within Bitcoin, your transaction with Bitcoin, you're saying you could sort of get around that thing for now till legislation comes up, right?
I mean,
let's make no mistake about it, guys. Bitcoin is worth $33,000 or whatever it is as of today. It's worth that in U.S. dollars, right? U.S. dollars is a measure of how many dollars are in the market. Meaning, what is M1, right? M1,
and
M2.
what it's valued at.
And what it's valued at, right? So to the extent, like if we have a lot of inflation, then Bitcoin's going to be worth a lot more in dollars. But is it going to allow you to buy more? Yes, maybe not, right? So it's people are getting hung up on what the value of Bitcoin is, right? You can get 21 million Bitcoins. After that, that's the thing that makes Bitcoin kind of attractive, is that there is an absolute finite limit. And the closer you get to 21 million, the harder it becomes to mine one, right? Or to get that value out. So it's a thing that people will use. Is there a value in having currency that is not controlled by a central bank? Maybe, but it's still pegged. Ultimately, its value is still pegged to fiat currency. So it's still going to be subject. It's going to be subject to the machinations of whatever governments decide to do, whether it's China trying to crack down on its utilization, or the United States government printing trillions of dollars that devalue every single dollar in the country.
Yeah, but
So-
aren't we still shipping our? Sorry, Dylan.
No. You can go. You don't. I like hearing from you, Wood.
Aren't we still shipping our money like out of our country when we are investing in crypto? Like, isn't that still the thing that's happening?
I mean, individually, like me buying crypto, I'm giving my money. No, you're giving your money. You're buying and selling Bitcoin to another individual who is transacting for Bitcoin, and you're getting resources. It's not like a transfer payment, like you're paying a balance of payments.
Sure, but like
That economic argument.
But we still have less money in circulation, right? When we are investing in crypto.
No,
Correct?
we don't have less
You
money
got
in
to be
circulation. It's
you
like
bought
saying
Bitcoin
you
with
buying a
it.
box of cereal is less money in circulation, or you buying a nice sports car is less money in circulation. That money is going elsewhere, and there's the other person can spend it. The money just doesn't disappear when you buy Bitcoin. It's not like you just put it in this magic box and it just comes out with Bitcoin.
It's
The
not
money is
exact-
still in
that's not
circulation.
exact- That's
sure,
not exact-
I guess it doesn't disappear, but if it's sitting in someone's wallet, that's not regulated, then I guess wouldn't that be effectively like leaving the country?
No, it's just you not spending something that is of value on something that is of value. It's just in your wallet.
I mean,
Yeah,
how many dollars does Jeff Bezos have in his wallet?
How
that
much
he's
money
not
do you have
spending?
in your wallet right now?
None.
Are you saying we should tax him uber a lot,
$20.
Spartacus?
No, I'm not.
No, I mean,
Take
we-
that
that's
money
not what I
from him.
said. I'm just.
You're-
I mean, I
that's
think
not
those
what I- that is
transactions should be
not what I
taxed.
said.
Yes.
That is
Wait.
not what I said. I'm just asking how much money Jeff Bezos has in his wallet that he's not spending. You can make that exact same argument that,
So-
aren't you just doing this?
You're so
it
close.
happens today.
Okay.
Well,
He's
I
so
mean,
close.
Okay,
you're
okay.
close.
Can
You are.
we talk about this in any statements? Because we do want to get to the last topic, which I'm super interested in. Sadly, we don't have counterpoints here for it. But look at him making it rain. That's what happens when you invest in hippy dippy coin. Okay, so we're gonna start with
That's all my dog money.
wonderful. We're gonna start with Hemed out in the top left-hand corner.
Okay. So closing statement. I don't think cryptocurrency is necessarily a scam. I do think it needs to have some sort of regulation. I don't think any of us on this panel are well versed enough in finance or anything like that to know how we can regulate it. But I will say some of these alternative coins or altcoins are definitely scams. They're rigging it right before they go into release. These influencers are scamming their audience. But having said that, I find the concept of like being able to have one currency across the world very interesting. I think the blockchain technology is super, super interesting and can have a lot of uses going forward. And yeah, overall, I think I don't know. I'm interested to see how it continues to grow. I would like to say that, like, I think it's kind of weird that people, like Elon Musk can't go on Twitter and say, "Hey, everyone, go and buy this stock," but he can come and say, "Go buy Bitcoin." And I think that that also needs to have some sort of regulation or restriction because I don't see the difference between those two things.
Now we're going to send it over to Wooden.
Yeah, so I came in saying that it's like gambling, which it is. But I guess like I still need to do more research on it, but with all the negative things that have been said about crypto here, like one could make a case that maybe it just shouldn't exist. I think like there are a bunch of negative issues here that we really need to look at as a country, and whether it's good or not. Whether it's I didn't hear a lot of positives. Like maybe one or two. So like judging by my pros and cons list just here on the panel, it's more cons than good. So I don't know. I'm kind of like I need to do more research, but I'm leaning on like maybe it just shouldn't exist. So I think there are more scams. People are taking advantage of it. I don't know. That's kind of where I'm at right now.
Okay. Now we're gonna throw it over to Hutch.
Yeah, so just in closing, if you are an influencer that's thinking about doing a pump and dump scheme through social media, all you have to do at the end of your tweet is just type I am not a financial advisor, LOL, and you'll be free and clear. So, also unrelated, Dr. Heemdout, I don't know if it's intentional, but you look exactly like Oscar Isaac in the film Ex Machina. I don't know if you've ever seen that film.
I'm going to pull that up right now.
You should Google it. It's unfucking canny. Thank you.
We're gonna throw it over to Josie Rose.
All right. I'm not a financial planner, but Birdcoin is going to be a thing from my channel. So I'm just joking, of course. But I think that this conversation was very interesting. Like I said before, I don't have a knowledge of Bitcoin, or I mean cryptocurrency, outside of like the damaging effects that it has to society. And those things really weren't really addressed too much, of the fact of the power consumption, the mine these things, the precious metals that are being mined, and we have shortages now, so people are buying graphic cards like crazy right now, and that's super bad, and that's going to make it very hard for other technologies. We're already starting to see more bottlenecks because of these metals. And then again, because there isn't enough regulation on who, and even though you can track to certain wallets, it's still sketchy enough that it takes a strong investigation to do it, rather than like if somebody used some foreign government currency to purchase the worst things that are available on those markets. So those are the reasons. And I'm actually going to say that not only are there scams that are Bitcoins that we talked about, but I think that the world would be better off without it. And I think that if we wanted to do something that is an international currency, we should work together using the means that we already have internationally, like the United Nations and such.
Okay, now we're gonna throw it over to Shark.
Sure. I guess we can touch on like the pros and cons, I guess, since other people are talking about it. I don't know. Just for me, for the just premise, is cryptocurrency period a scam? I wouldn't say so. That's like period a scam. No more scam that well, for at least for the much bigger ones like Ethereum and Bitcoin, no much more of a scam than the stock market. But with that being said, usually technology, and we'll probably touch on this in the next segment, usually technology moves a lot faster than our legislature does, which leaves a lot of room open for people to create scams and steal money while they have the opportunity to, from people who are unsuspecting, or people who are in poor enough conditions to be able to be lulled into the idea that they could get out of their situation without with this certain scam. I would like to see a lot more regulation come down on this. I would like our wait, no, we can't be mean. I would like our exceedingly senior Senate and House to work together to try to make some legislation to help alleviate some of the problems that we have, because I think a lot of the times the only things that we have to us should serve some utility to making our lives better. If things like cryptocurrencies exist, I think it should be to help people, like help lives be better, especially in like really poor countries. Sometimes I've been seeing this, and some people say they haven't heard good things from cryptocurrencies. In a lot of countries that are, I don't want to use the word third world, but a lot of very poor countries, sometimes they use, some of them can use cryptocurrencies to buy like food and resources that they need. I think that's a great thing. But if we're going to take in total of things that are happening, especially like here in America, I think we're seeing a lot more problems than we do good. And I think we really need to get on that.
Okay, next we're going to throw it over to More Perfect Union.
Yeah, so crypto, like many tools, right? It's neither good nor bad. It's simply the manner in which it gets used or executed or exploited that makes it one or the other. I think Shark Zero's got a good point. Should we have some reasonable regulation? Should we define terms in such a way as that concepts like pump and dump are covered under existing fraud statutes or security statutes? Sure, I think that we could do things that protect the consumer from being fraudulently exploited, right? But ultimately, I think caveat emptor really sort of drives it. You have to really try to understand the market, what it's doing, and what you can get out of it. And if you understand your risks, and those risks are not skewed, as Dr. Heem just brilliantly pointed out earlier, with the changing of the house rules right before transaction time. As long as you can keep it above board and people can understand what it is, I think people should be able to educate themselves on what the risks and benefits are, and fuck it, if they want to do it, let them do it.
Okay, now we're gonna throw it over to Turk.
So I'm glad I'm knowledgeable about this because I'm going to help your chat actually earn some money. Go to nicehash.com, and if you have a GPU, you can go and create an account and stuff, set up the program, and if you start mining Ethereum today, you probably are going to come out ahead because you're going to own the coin itself. And at whatever point you decide to actually go ahead and sell that Ethereum, you're probably going to make money, if not lose any money, because you're actually going and mining coin. At the beginning of the week, or if you go from a 7-day average, Ethereum has gone up 13%, Bitcoin has gone up 7.3%. So Bitcoin is an excellent way to get yourself in the waters of investment. You know, I treat Bitcoin and crypto as a stock at this point. So of course, don't invest in meme coins because that's stupid and it's not a sound financial advice. But if you mine Ethereum and you let that run over time, sure, it's going to cost you more electricity. It's not free. But you know, I've made about 800, 900 bucks from mining Ethereum, and all I've done is let my computer sit there and do work. I have gained value by doing nothing but spending electricity. Granted, it's pretty much green electricity because that's the way I buy my electricity here. So yeah, I think it's a great opportunity, and I would hate for y'all to continue to say there's no positives to, you know, Bitcoin or any of these cryptos, because you can get money out of it by not doing anything.
Okay. Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
I pay for my electricity though, and wouldn't it cost electricity to like run one of these things?
Yeah, if you're running your computer, it's using electricity to do a cost-benefit analysis, and if you make more Ethereum value versus, you know, the extra cost to running your computer all the time, that's pretty capitalistic in my opinion.
Yeah, I think the site actually helps you figure out calculation for power use.
Okay, wonderful. Thanks for answering my question. We're gonna move on to the last topic of the night, and it's simple: should the cops have robots? Of course, cops have had bomb defusing robots for a very long time now, but Boston Dynamics, with their recent robotic developments, have really gone for it. Oh, did I miss Sproutacus again? Oopsie doopsie. Yeah. Okay, I'll throw it over to Sprout. You want to know what it is, Sprout? I'm so used to being in the middle, and I'm used to going around the middle, and not being in the middle since we're no longer using Whereby has completely thrown me off.
I was curious if I pissed you off or something.
Nah, I'm not used to the middle person speaking.
Okay. All right. I think that like it was said before, I think cryptocurrency is it's evil and what's done with it, or it could be good with what's done with it. It's not the currency itself that people are saying it's evil. It's what's being done with the currency it's evil. Regulations will eventually catch up with this. The United States will eventually figure out how to thwart this. It's not evil. It's not that it shouldn't exist. And it's definitely going to have some positives moving forward. I think that these cryptocurrencies are being made by influencers. Don't buy them. Wait to see something stable. It's like getting in at a penny stock, and then as soon as they get up, they sell the company, and the other person trashes it. Just wait till it's stable, and you'll have a much better investment. But now we can move on to the next topic, Dylan. Thank you.
Okay, wonderful. The last topic is going to be, should cops have robots? Obviously, they've had mine-diffusing robots and bomb-diffusing robots for a long time now. But Boston Dynamics and the recent developments they have made in robotics technology and how they have been working with police departments to see applications for it brings a big question to the future of criminal justice and law enforcement in this country. It is, how much robotics should the police be using, if they should be using robots at all? Does the lack of human touch destroy something that is needed with a human hand, or does it increase their capabilities and keep us all safer? Of course, the main question though is, should the cops have the robots? Beep boop. We're gonna start in the top left-hand corner with Heemed.
Okay, so I've always watch the Boston Dynamic videos when they come out. I find them fascinating. Like the movements that these robots are able to do, opening doorknobs and shit, just absolutely crazy things that like 5-year-old kids can't even open doors properly, and these robots are doing it. So on one hand, I'm kind of like, doomerism, like most people, I'm sure we've all seen movies and how these things can get out of hand and whatnot. People say, oh, it's got a detachable battery on its belly, but like it's not going to get on its back for a belly rub for you to take out the battery. But having said that, I think that like it can serve a good purpose. You can take away individual biases, and I know that AI has biases, but like I know people say facial recognition software has been prone to like racism or whatever. The thing is, though, improving that technology is a lot easier than changing the racist views of like a 50-year-old cop who's lived in the suburbs his whole life and never seen a black guy, and now he's face to face. You won't have like trigger happy robots. You'll have like these kind of like the emotional aspect of these very highly emotional interactions can be taken out of it. And yeah, I think it's easier to probably rewire a shitty algorithm than it is to rewire a 50-year-old guy's entire existence. And for that reason, and also let's keep in mind, in a lot of ways, like Dylan brought up, we already have robotics in policing, right? You have traffic light cameras that will automatically detect if you run reds. You know, there's so many ways that we already involve automation and robotics in policing. And I just hope that, like, as someone who tries to have a positive outlook on life, I like to look on the positive sides and hope that, like, we can take out the racial bias in policing and just call the balls and strikes, as they say.
Okay, I'm going to throw it over to Hardwood and Sock.
Yeah, so I think robots in police forces could be very useful depending on how they're used. I know, Dylan, you brought up like the bomb diffusing and whatnot, which I think is very good. But I think they could also be utilized in hostage situations. Like if someone is barricaded in their house, armed to the teeth, I'd rather have a robot go in than have humans go in. I think it's just safer that way. It does take out some biases possibly, which would be interesting to see how that plays out. I think it would have to start very localized and very, very small, like maybe like one per police department, just to kind of see how it goes. And then I am nervous though about like the whole Terminator, like oh boy, like they're gonna take over the whole world. So I think like it could be useful, but is it completely necessary? I don't know. But I'm looking forward to seeing where this goes.
Okay, now I'm gonna throw it over to Hutch.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree with Dr. Heemdowd. Actually, I was thinking the same thing when I was trying to figure out where I land on this topic. And theoretically, it's interesting to replace flawed human beings with deeply ingrained biases with a dispassionate machine that does not share the same biases. Now, it's true that AI can have biases as well, but I think the conversation, like the robots are coming one way or the other, they're coming. I don't know if we're going to have them in my lifetime where it's going to be robots replacing police officers and actually detaining people on the street. I don't know if that's feasible in my lifetime, but that is coming eventually. So I think the conversation would be more productive if we steered it towards how do we increase transparency in terms of how they code these machines. What sort of input does the public get in this kind of a thing? And it's just going to come down to each individual city and district and state. They're going to have to decide whether or not they're okay with these kinds of machines being used. But it hasn't just been about like bomb diffusing either. So when the cop killing guy went on that rampage in Dallas, for example, they sent in a robot with a bomb strapped to him to blow the guy up who was barricaded in a garage. And so, I think that there are some interesting applications. I also understand that there are going to be certain people or communities that would be extremely wary of such technology being used, which is why I think the conversation should be steered towards a lot of transparency with how these machines operate. If they're equipped with some kind of like a algorithm to determine threats, and all of a sudden they start racially profiling people. Obviously, that's going to be bad. So the sooner that we start having these conversations, the more that we can, I think the faster we can get to a place where we can find a way to use this technology in a way that's not going to be extremely harmful. But I understand people's reluctance. I also think it's an interesting area to explore, and we shouldn't just cut ourselves off completely to discussing it. So yeah.
Okay, now we're gonna throw it over to Josie. Sprouticus.
So I think that robots can be extremely useful. I think there's also gonna be issues with robots. These are all gonna be figured out before the police use these robots in the actual field. I think these are issues that can be figured out, but like one of the issues being that we're able to face our accuser in a court of law. It'd be really interesting to see how we'd face a robot in court of law, and have the judge decide who's correct, the robot or the person. And that would be extremely interesting. I think that it would save police officers' lives. That's a big thing I'm for is saving police officers' lives. And so one thing I've been thinking about just throughout while everyone else was talking is if we had human-controlled robots, where the humans actually controlled the robots from afar, it would save police officers' lives in dangerous situations such as domestic violence situations. That way they don't get shot through the door. And it would help out, I think, that if we had police officers controlling the robots from afar until we can figure out all of these accusations. I mean, all of these, not accusations, all of these issues that robots would present within the legal system, within robots learning to do things of their own, if they're going to be AI, and stuff like that. Once we can figure out all these issues, I'd feel comfortable pushing it out there, but not until we're almost 100% sure that we have this figured out and we're ready to deploy it.
Okay, next we're gonna throw to Josie Rose.
Okay. I gotta say something to Dr. Heamed Out. You actually changed my mind. Like I don't actually do that. Like I do that, but I just wanted to let you know because I was thinking in the context of war and drone warfare and how robots are going in and killing and blowing up people. That I don't agree with. But the idea of creating a peaceful robotic force to go in and, go into harm's way. My father's a police officer. So for like a robot to go in and do that type of stuff. And I also like the idea of like the fact that we can program those. My only concern, and I only have one really, is this always leads to like the militarization of the police force. It's like you have the robots, now let's give the robot a gun. Now let's give a robot some ammunition and artillery, and then that's where things happen because it's happened many times in police forces where you'll have like armored passenger care vehicles, right? And then all of a sudden now they're using them for like weaponry, all that type of stuff, right? So we have to be very, very careful, and I think that we could really do the robot thing, but we need to do it in conjunction with police regulation reform. So if we can do both and at the same time help the forces as a whole, then I think we could actually do a lot of good. So just wanted to shout you out. That was great points. So
thank you. I love that. Thank you.
Yeah.
I will say. Are we done with opening statements?
No, there's still three people.
Go ahead.
Wow.
Go ahead.
Oh, Heem tried to stop me from moving on to the only black streamer, the whole stream in his opening stream. I find that very strange. Shark Zero, I'm sorry.
I told you human beings have bias.
You keep doing it. You keep doing it. Shark Zero, I'm so sorry.
No problem. To the point about like the AI, I do. Automation is a really big thing when it comes to our economy, when it comes to, and now we're talking about our police force. And a lot of trust has to be put into the police to use their new equipment well. Typically, when we give police more equipment, usually it just opens up, gives them more options to hurt more people. A lot of the times, that's usually what it's used for, to hurt a lot of people. Our facial recognition technology, especially when it comes to black people, is nothing that can be described as anything but dog shit. I remember when Google implemented a facial recognition technology, and it started describing a bunch of black people as gorillas. So I mean, you can imagine trying to put that into a police bot. It probably won't end up too well. When it comes to things like traffic lights and those pictures that they take, they can only do one thing and one thing only. When it comes to more like autonomous bot that goes around, maybe tries to look at suspicious activity, they're just a bunch of hunter drones just trying to find things out and see what's going on. What do you describe as suspicious activity? What is that? When and you can say like, man, you won't have the 50-year-old cop doing all this racist shit. Well, who's running the bot? What programs is he going to say that bot needs to do? What if the bot's going to do something like, hey, we have a certain person. Here's what they look like. Here, hey bots, go out and try and find them. I really think that that's going to be a really big opening to crush a lot of people's like just civil rights. That's a really big thing. We need a really big lock on something like a police bot to go around and do police work. If we need a very strong regulation force on that with a lot of public oversight before I think we can even try to get there. We can barely get it with people who are who we can talk to and things. The bot follows its code. And if someone who's writing the code has those same views, well, you're going to get the same outcomes. The only thing is now it's going to be through this mechanized force. I'm just saying it can like end up really poorly. And I'm not saying that all bots, no matter what, at any point in time are bad. Like the little dog bot that they had in New York, it was kind of used for spying a little bit. But one good thing that it did do is that it there was a hostage situation in the Queens, and it took some food to some of the hostages, and I think that was great. Nobody got hurt, and the hostages were able to get out, and they were able to get fed when they were being where they were being kept. But when we take the bot to do things like prowling the streets, looking for suspicious activity, pinging people's phones, gathering information about protesters, it's like I'm just saying, like, imagine 2020 with all of those protests, only police had way more opportunity to find you and ruin your life for just protesting in the street. I think before we even get to the conversation of like having a lot of these robots do police work, we need to get a hold of police first.
Okay. Wonderful. We're going to throw it now to More Perfect Union.
I think, Shark, I think you make good points. Hemi make good points. I'll throw it back to the prior statement, right? It's not the tool, it's the manner of its usage. It's how is it programmed? How do you, like in the case of the Google thing, right, where they were recognizing African Americans as gorillas, right? That's a fault of programming, and it's also 10 years ago, right? So as technologies evolve and you have the opportunity to see what they look like in theory and in practice, then you can make sure that you are pushing that continuum along a way that tends to more accuracy and so forth. I don't think that robots or AI technologies in general are bad. If this purpose is used as stated, and that it is equally applied to everybody for the benefit of the target group, right? Society or whatever. So, and there should be robust controls, right? There should be, in fact, somebody overseeing not necessarily all of the code, but what is the executional steps of the code looking like? How does it get applied? What happens when it detects an error? When does it stop proceeding forward and seek, additional guidance, right? Some kind of an override. So I'm really concerned. I am particularly concerned about the effects of AI and how things can just simply be masked. To Sprout's point about you can't confront your robot accuser and say dispositive, because the robot's going to have a report, and if that report is given the same credence that cops are always given when they go to court, there's a presumption the cop is correct, right? We all know this, and it's really difficult to challenge that if that assumption is always true. So I think we have to be very careful about what kinds of robot technologies are afforded, but let's not make any mistake. I think somebody else said this already, that, you know, we have robot cameras, we have shot spotter, we have AI intelligence and stuff that's brought forward into police work all day long, twice on Sunday. So I just think it's really about the oversight that the public brings to the table in making sure that whatever technologies are applied, that they're done so in an equal footing and an expeditious manner, right? That does not target people for things that are not illegal.
Wonderful. Also, I see in chat asking me like, what's my position on it? And just to be clear, that I will not give a position until after I finish my run of Detroit Become Human. Now we're gonna throw it to Turk.
So the big question here is, do you trust Judge Dredd or RoboCop? Because that's the end goal of, you know, policing as a humanities, you know, as a species, right? You either have, you know, someone that's super duper good at interpreting law and the nuances of the law and executing it as appropriate, or do you have this autonomous thing that's going by the rules, which fails to read nuance most of the time, but is able to actually override some of those systemic or issues or whatever. So, yeah, you know, that's of course, you know, way down the line. I'm much more in favor of what Unperfect or More Perfect Union says. There's plenty of opportunity to deploy technology to make police lives safer, more effective, and to make criminals' lives safer, more effective, and making society as a whole a better place to live. There's definitely going to be nuance throughout all of this process, oversight, open source coding, and all that other stuff. I can talk about all those different things. There's a little bit of technical lacking here, so I can answer any of those kinds of questions. But I definitely think that enabling automation into the police workflow will be beneficial to both perpetrators, communities, as well as police officers.
Got it. Okay. It is open for the final topic of the night. You may all engage.
I have a question for Shark Zero, because you expressed some skepticism and for good reasons too. But like, let's say hypothetically we had some kind of a bot, some kind of a police bot that was driven around in an autonomous self-driving vehicle, and their only job was to enforce traffic laws. How would you feel about that?
So the bot literally just drives around and then does what to people?
Pulls them
It
over
just like
for
takes
running
pictures
red
of
lights, pulls them over for speeding, pulls them over for just traffic violations. A bot gets out of the car, hands you your ticket, and gets back in the car and then drives away.
You don't even need a bot to get out of the car. At that point, you can just use a loudspeaker with an automated.
Well, you'd have to hand them the ticket, right, with like the court date on it or whatever.
No, I'll mail you those.
But again, what about the nuances, right? What about the nuances of this person's heading to the emergency room, or this person's getting ready to give birth? These nuances are forgotten even in traffic laws.
So this would kind of just be like, yeah, I mean, this would kind of just be like a speed camera on legs. At that point, I don't know why you can't just send it to them if you know the license plate.
Because people do more than speed. That's
a static camera. Yeah, you agree with him though? I guess that's the question. Just his premise still stands.
Just me? I'm not too sure if I would agree with that. I mean, I'm just not too sure if I would agree with that. If it's, I mean, the thing is, I feel like we already have cameras for stuff like that. But I mean, if Hutch, if you're like asking like generally, if there would be like some AI or some bots that would do like very simple police work, like tell you to get out if you're like trespassing or something. I'm not sure personally how I would feel good with a bot, like if you're trespassing, a bot like walking up and then grabbing you and then holding you for the police or something.
I think we're pretty far out from that, so I don't know how relevant that is right now. I wouldn't want that right now. I mean, But in terms of like enforcing traffic laws, then you would get rid of a lot of police officers' inherent racial biases. So like they're not like a bot wouldn't be like, oh, it's a black person driving a Beamer, I don't know about that, and then pull them over. Theoretically, I'm just saying it would help to solve some of that
with traffic laws, I know traffic stops a lot of times are used to find other things wrong, such as if you suspect someone of doing something else criminally, but you can't, you have no warrant or nothing to pull them over for. They ask them questions. Traffic stops are sometimes used for that. Or they'll pull
That's
you over
illegal.
for it's not necessarily illegal. They'll pull you over for a smaller infraction, and when they go up and they can then investigate
smell
what's
weed or
inside.
whatever.
Yeah, they can go in and investigate what's inside the car. And this sometimes is how massive amount of drugs are found. I disagree with weed being illegal, but massive amount of drugs are found, such as cocaine, stuff like that.
Most people on the panel probably think that that's not a good thing, like for cops to be pulling people over just because they suspect they might have a brick of cocaine in the trunk.
But I mean, if you're breaking a traffic law, you're breaking a traffic law, and if it's out in the open that there's cocaine in your vehicle and you can see it when the person's going up to give you your ticket, then it's completely legal for the cop to arrest you based on the cocaine that you have in your vehicle.
But can I expand on this technology just so we're clear?
And then I'd like to go after, because I'm actually doing this in my current research. But go ahead.
Yeah, so let's say this autonomous vehicle detects you not putting your blinker on to turn, right? So as it's in the process of trying to get you to pull over, it scans your tags to make sure it's a valid vehicle. It sees that there's warrants for arrest, all that stuff. At that point, the system has got you. At that point, they can flag a real officer to come to the site in order to do the investigation.
Yeah.
There's all sorts of levels of automation that we can employ here. We don't have to have a RoboCop going up to his door. Please hand me your license and registration, please. We can pull that information. And if it doesn't exist, we can flag a cop or whatever. So there's different levels of extremity that we can go here.
So I want to say, so my research, I'm a physics PhD, and with like specializing in cancer research, and I'm using machine learning and automation to try to predict cancer treatment outcomes. And I will say that, like, Shark, I think your concern is very valid when you say that, like, facial recognition technology is currently flawed. However, I just want to point out that, like, these things are progressing at an insane pace. The level of involvement that there was with automation in medicine 10 years ago is uncomparable to today, and today will be uncomparable to 10 years from now. So I think, like, when we're having these discussions, it's not about what is the technology at right now. It's about, I think the question is, like, what is the ethics? Is it ethically reasonable to assuming that there's no bias in the program, that this might be a better system than what we currently have? And, like, even in medicine, you'll see, I don't think that in 20 years from now or 30 years from now, or maybe even less, that radiology will still be a thing. All of the tumors that in your x-rays or whatever will be automatically segmented and identified as tumors. And there's actually, they can even do it better than radiologists can do it. So I think that, like, rejecting automation, and this goes even bigger, past policing, past medicine, and we can talk about automation in manufacturing. A lot of people think, oh, hey, if we bring back these manufacturing jobs, that they're just going to be given to people. No, I think that, like, rejecting automation is kind of foolish. Like, we have to understand that it's here. It's going to only take over more. So what we should push for is something like, let's say, the code for the police thing should be publicly available so that people can evaluate whether or not there's racist bias involved in it, or any. There's a lot of ways that you could make sure that there's transparency, but all of them will be better than having to rewire some racist cops' views on black people, for example.
So what if hackers get into the system and they take over the police, and they take over these police robots, and the robots go rogue because the hacker is taking over them?
I mean, like, that's a problem at any time.
I am also scared of Terminator. Like, what if that happens?
Skynet.
That just seems like a blanket argument against automation, just period. We shouldn't automate.
Yeah, exactly. When you
automate something that everyone is supposed to trust, such as a police officer, that's much different. That's a much different argument than talk about automation in its totality, right?
What if you're at a factory and the robot gets hacked and it starts throwing fucking car parts at the, like, anything? You could say that about any automation. Like, I don't know why
you supposed to trust? Is the general public supposed to trust car part manufacturer?
Yeah, those
robots?
types of robots.
You trust them now. Car parts are being manufactured by robots right now.
But I understand that. But I'm saying, is the general society supposed to trust that this person is out there for your best interest? Is the general society
People don't trust that the cops have their best interest now.
But these types of manufacturing robots aren't built to do the type of functionality that you're prescribing, Heemed. I mean, it'd be great if we
Yeah,
could
they're
have
not decision making. Yeah.
360-degree robot arms that could do everything. That's not the way things are in reality, dude.
Wait,
Okay.
sorry. Wait, one sec. I've worked at one of these assembly lines. These robots can literally pick up items, move them across, put them somewhere else. What do you
Have
mean?
you seen one of these robots throw something?
No, I haven't seen them throw something, but I'm saying if we're talking about the worry being that they can be hacked, well, that's a worry everywhere. What if the light system gets hacked and all the lights go green and
fear mongering, and this is considered misinformation.
wait,
by the,
I'm reverse fear mongering.
Uh,
I'm easing your fears.
But you're also straw manning, right? You're straw manning the idea that we're supposed to trust police officers, and when you replace them with robots that they're hacked, then that could be a serious issue. You're straw manning by comparing that to vehicle.
No, he's appealing to
manufacturing robots.
progress.
He's appealing to progress.
Yeah,
That's
I'm going to also appeal to progress. The fact of the matter is, technology is advancing, and these questions will have to come up. And we
So
need
what's
to
wrong with
start
bringing
thinking
the
about
question
these
up?
things now, because we're gonna eventually get there, right? Like the idea that that ship is, I mean, that train has left the station, right? Like automation is here, like AI is here, like we are now in the midst of it all. So the idea of like, oh, I don't trust it, doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you don't trust it or not, it's going to exist. And that's how it's going to happen.
Well, no, but I think you can use that as a healthy skepticism to make sure that the way that the progress of the technology, the way it adapts and morphs and becomes more better, right, over time is logically consistent and doesn't take advantage or disadvantage anybody,
Well,
right?
you would want to base it on the data though, right? Just like with the vaccine. So like 10 years from now, if they do have robot AI cops that are handing out tickets, and then we get the data back that police fatalities went way down because of this program, are you guys just going to turn around and be like, well, I don't know, there's still a lot of open-ended questions, and we don't know the long-term consequences yet, and they could be fudging the numbers? You would just want it to be like a data-driven opinion about something. So if we get information that lets us know that it makes our communities safer with less risk to cops, less risk to the public,
Yeah, I think that's where
the numbers will be out there, and that'll be that.
That's where the oversight comes in, right? How you have a feedback loop that makes sure that what you are trying, what is the objective goal of the technology? Is it doing what it needs to be doing, and how can it be refined to do that mission better? And as long as you have that feedback loop and you're constantly iterating through that, you're going to have something that, generally speaking, that tool will, generally speaking, be positive.
Well, I'm interested. Can we do you think there's going to be a way to program these robots to have discretion in certain situations, like in Hutch's example for like traffic, violations or whatnot? Police have the ability to have discretion, right? So if you're going 75 in a 55, right, technically you should be charged for reckless driving and whatnot. But a human police officer can come up to you and be like, hey, you fucked up, right? So we're gonna write you off for doing 60, right? So it's automatically assuming everyone's guilty, right? And like there's gonna be no chances for sorry, go ahead, Heemed. I see you itching.
Oh, sorry, I was talking to chat. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, you're good.
I'm sorry.
But you know what I mean? Like we're taking the human aspect out of it, and I think there is a value to human interaction.
So to take your
in a
example,
data-driven model, you could take some things into consideration, right?
Can 1 second? I wanted to check, Josie. I saw you rose your hand earlier, and I wrote your name down. Just wanted to check in. Did you get to speak?
Yeah, I kind of did, but it got kind of hijacked. I will make this one point real quick.
Okay, and then I want to ask a question to the room.
Yeah, for sure. So one thing that I wanna also emphasize is like the way we're looking at this question. A lot of us are looking at it from a technological point of view, but we also need to look at it from the racial justice lens, and that was brought up by Shark, which is the idea of like the programming in the AI, and there's already so many laws that are kind of already a little weird, right? So it's like all of a sudden we're policing. So I think that when we talk about the automation thing, what I was saying when I was saying we appeal to progress is that we also need to continue to progress and make our institutions safer as a whole, because it's like we're still not safe as citizens without robots. And now we're trying to talk about being safer with robots when we're not even making it safer without them. So I just wanted to highlight that point because I think it's very important to the conversation. So,
and that goes to kind of my point. It's at some point, the human element has to become, because like I think Sock was trying to say, there's nuance to all of these situations. If you're going 75 into 55, this autonomous car pulls you over, you know, hey, my wife's pregnant, I'm driving to the ER. Well, now I've got to wait 30 minutes to, you know, get the ticket resolved because the automation's doing its thing. So it's like there has to definitely be, you know, a human element that's deployed at some point in order to, you know, make sure this stuff goes on without a hitch. So
theoretically, though, could you not, like, theoretically in the future when this stuff is going to be viable, program an AI to be able to identify if somebody was in labor? I mean, surely that would be possible.
If you could have like a flying drone that deploys and can like go and look at all the
it would like
the
scan your vitals. It would look at like the sides of the woman's abdomen.
Sure,
and,
yeah.
and,
if that technology existed, yes, but you know
that feels super invasive already.
Okay, but is it possible for is it possible for a robot to know that? I mean, is it possible for a robot to know that a family member texted you saying that they're going to commit suicide and you're just driving as fast as you can to get there? A robot can't know that. I mean, so I mean, even though
wait. I'm gonna ask a question I think could help like save the kind of lay what people are. What do you guys feel about, and this is something currently exists, speed cameras? You're going down the road, you speeding. Camera takes a picture of you. They send like a little piece of mail to you, like, you did it bad. How to raise your hand if you believe they're bad. That's one thing I'll ask. If you think they're bad, raise your hand. Okay, if you think they're good, raise your hand.
I think they're bad. So
okay, so right there would be like an example of something that currently does this, that will send you mail. It doesn't like stop. The speed camera doesn't be like, let me look at the wrinkles on their face. Are they particularly angry to be speed? They don't do that. They just check if you're speeding or not. So I think like using this real world example first before going into like the hypothetical of these robots, which is a robot that kind of exists right now, could be helpful.
In this future, that's going to be irrelevant though, right? Because like I think eventually down the line, we're probably going to be heading towards a future where not many people are actually going to be driving the cars that they're driving. So it'll wait, what?
Yeah. So
preach, man.
The traffic camera.
It just seems like that's where we're inevitably headed for. I don't know if it's going to be in 50 years or 100 years, but probably we're going to get to a point where it's going to be illegal for humans to drive cars.
Can I ask a question?
We need to worry about speed cameras.
Can I ask a question to those? Can you guys raise your hand if you said you were anti-speed camera? I just want to see who that was again. Anti-speed camera. Okay. Are you guys also anti-red light cameras?
Yes.
So you're telling me that you don't think that it's okay if a camera catches people running red lights, which can cause death to other drivers on the road?
Okay, so that's straw man argument right there. Here's the problem. Here's the problem with traffic cameras. You can't confront your accuser in court. And in California, they had like thousands of red light camera cases that were thrown out because it was I think it was Sixth Amendment problems.
Sorry. How was that a straw man again?
California has been ruled a red light camera. Well, California said they're constitutional, but a federal court had to throw out a shitload of cases because because there was nothing to state that the camera was properly calibrated. And I actually
what do you mean by properly calibrated? You can see video. You can see videos of it. I've seen one of my friends sent me a video of him running a red light. You can see his face. You can see the light turn red.
Oh, you're 100% right. But the problem is that the cameras the camera is shooting, like in my case, because I beat the case, right?
Okay.
Because the camera took the shot of me moving through the intersection, but the timestamp was wrong, and they went back and they looked at it and said, no, at the actual time, okay, that light was yellow, not red, and I beat a $500 ticket.
Well, solve for those problems then.
It can be fucking wrong.
Well, let's say that you solve those problems and it was properly calibrated. Then just take that out of your argument.
And the question was right. So if a frog had wings, he wouldn't bump his ass when he hit the ground, right?
So
that's a straw man. That's a straw man.
I want to echo this. So it's about the cameras. It's about the cameras. I promise. Okay. So So what my issue with it is not that. My issue is that the crime of running a red light is usually by accident. Yes, people could die, but I don't have any statistical evidence to show that the introduction of traffic camera lights actually reduced the amount of accidents and fatalities than were already being seen by just people being good drivers on the road already. So usually a lot of times these cameras go up in places and the people who are affected the most are the people that can't pay those tickets. Like a wealthy person speeds, takes a camera, whatever, they pay the ticket and they move on. But somebody can get their car impounded, they can lose their source of revenue. And that's what makes it so hard for a lot of people in marginalized communities, because they don't get the opportunity to say, no, this is a mistake. I made a mistake. It's just flat out, you're paying this fine or you're going to be in a lot of trouble. And
that's
why I'm against them.
Can I respond? I think she was addressing me, kind of.
Sure.
Right? Okay. So my response would be, I agree that a lot of times people run red lights by accident, but that doesn't mean that you shouldn't be held accountable. What if you run a red light by accident and you kill someone? At least now you'll have footage of who was at fault and who wasn't, right?
But if you're running it by accident, you're going to run it by accident without the camera.
Well, stop.
You should be held responsible.
Okay, let me answer.
Okay, can I pause this quickly though? Having worked for many candidates who have supported speed cameras and like having to help them with press, I can say, and I hate to barge in the conversation, that speed cameras most certainly within the, not generally across the state, but near the speed camera, they 100% reduce crashes and fatalities specifically. Not only will they reduce like just crashes from happening, but if a crash does happen, the likelihood that a fatality happens from that crash drastically goes down. I know this because Maryland has been getting more and more aggressive with speed cameras, but that is just around the speed camera. Once you've passed the speed camera and then you're in areas that are like not speed camera territory, it's completely different. It doesn't decrease it overall across the state. So what you do usually is you put speed cameras where you're most likely to see accidents under the hope that you can like reduce those accidents, of course.
Yeah, and I would go to him and say the inverse. The inverse is, what happens if you slam on the brakes because you don't want to run the red light? Then you end up getting rear-ended because the guy behind you is going, 80 miles an hour in a 30, and you end up getting severely injured.
I don't know what your argument is here.
No, you're arguing the inverse of saying if someone goes through the red light and then hits somebody or causes an accident, what happens on the other inside?
So you're saying, hang on, let me just get this straight. You're saying that going through a red light is preferable to slamming on the brakes and getting rear-ended.
No, how the actual red light camera operates and handing out citations. One is for you potentially running into someone. The other one is because you followed the law and someone ended up hitting you, getting damaged. How do you justify the moral quandary of that?
There is no moral quandary. You should not run through a red light.
Then why am I getting rear-ended and going to the ER because I can't walk anymore?
If you get rear-ended, you're not at fault. The person who rear-ends you is at fault.
But by following the red light camera and doing what it tells me to do, I am getting damaged.
So should we get rid of stoplights?
No.
I don't know.
No, that's not a
reasonable,
remotely valid argument.
Yeah, that's not no, but the thing is, like, I just want to make one comment about Dylan's point about that research. Hasn't that same level of research also existed when you put up like a speed sign that says how fast you're going? Traffic does statistically slow down as well. And it's almost like a Panopticon argument from Foucault, which is the idea that you could have a guard tower with nobody manning it, but people will behave better just because they think somebody's watching them. So I could see like an idea of like fake cameras and like fake speed signs and being like that. Yeah, they already exist, and they actually do. I think they also.
Can I ask a question about? Wait. Go down the. Can I ask a question about that though? If they're only fake cameras, right? Then wouldn't like everybody's be like, well, there's no penalty for doing this, so you would have to have real cameras for fake cameras to work.
So the problem,
we already have this though. If you go on like interstates, especially like in between states, like right after you hit a border, you'll see signs on the side of the interstate. I don't know how much people pay attention to this, but it will say that speed is radar controlled. And they don't actually have radars detecting your speed as you're going by that or at all. It's just a sign literally saying that this speed is radar controlled in the hopes that people slow down and don't go as fast.
And some of these fake cameras, they unfortunately stop working because the cost of maintaining and making sure that they're working properly, and of course, processing the tickets that actually come from them is too much for the local law enforcement agency. So they just deactivate them in the hopes that it does that placebo effect.
By the time we have,
I want to throw something out. Let me make a quick
Sure.
point. So California, the California Supreme Court said that traffic cameras are legal, but an Ohio town of New Miami was ordered to pay in 2017 was ordered to pay $3 million in automated traffic fines levied against drivers explicitly because that the drivers were denied due process. Okay, so the question about whether you can do it one way or the other is it's unresolved. It's probably going to end up before the Supreme Court. And then to Turk was making a point that that if he follows the red traffic camera or the red light camera, he's going to get injured because somebody rear ends him. That's kind of a false argument, right? Because the person behind him shouldn't be following that close at that rate of speed anyway. So unfortunately, you can't have two wrongs make it right.
I think it's I think what we're debating right now is like the interim period between where we are now and where we're headed inevitably. Because where we are headed will be a future where the vast majority of cars that are on the road will be autonomous, and the technology will improve so much over time that traffic fatalities will completely crash. They're not gonna 100% go away, but that is the future that we're headed towards, and it's interconnected with the conversation that we're having about
appeal to progress. You win. You're right.
Automation, but I welcome that future. I think that's a good future.
Sure, but even if if I'm going to grant the idea of like it will come, which I think in some instances can be a little facetious, like because like even with some things that we have, like an upgrade for mechanical buttons would be capacitive keys, but a lot of people and me myself included, I hate capacitive keys. I hate a lot of touch sensors. My new headphones I bought have touch sensors. I kind of fucking hate them. I kind of wish it actually had physical buttons, and that would be an upgrade technologically, but sometimes we don't want that upgrade. Sometimes some things that we have aren't something that we want to upgrade in that certain way, but for like when it comes, for me, I really think that interim period is extremely important, because when we can talk about point A and point B, but on that drive to point B, if we die on that road, some of us won't make it. If it's going to be really bad for a lot of people making it to point B, I think we really need to look at how we're getting there.
Well, so if let's say 20 years from now, and I feel like this is definitely going to happen, but 20 years from now, the technology that we've developed for self-driving cars has become so good that they are able to chop the risk of being in a traffic fatality by like multiple tens of thousands of %. Like it's a tiny chance that you will get into an accident if you take the self-driving car rather than drive it yourself. Wouldn't you argue? I mean, wouldn't you say at that point that is a good technology? I mean, aside from like, I get what you're saying, because like I wish I had buttons on my like Bluetooth headphones sometimes because it's just easier. But this kind of feels like totally disconnected from that. I mean, would you?
For me, I was kind of talking in the context of like surveillance and policing. And not like self-driving. I mean, if we have like self-driving cars where we can all be driven everywhere, we have like automatic taxis, and the death rate goes to zero driving, then cool. But when it comes to what police are doing and how police are policing, sometimes we don't want that change.
Well, yeah, surveillance is something to be extremely wary of, for sure. And any kind of AI that would use a predictive model that would like look at someone and then assess if they were being suspicious, or incorporate their race into whether or not they're going to be more aggressive in their pursuit of that. Obviously, that stuff I think is highly problematic, and I think most of the people on this panel would, if not everybody, would agree.
But for me, that's not even like the only problem, because there can be perfectly fair police, but there can still be over policing. Well, no, let's say like they do that in a very poor neighborhood. You can absolutely put a surveillance bot and just drop them in a bunch of poor neighborhoods, and all of a sudden you're going to completely destroy that neighborhood. It'd basically be a massive a massive like upscaling of broken windows policing, if that's the case.
Well,
So-
just
Yeah,
assuming.
I think that's a fair consideration.
So
Well, just assuming, right? Just assuming that the software and the technology is all programmed out so that the racist robot cop is a thing that isn't a thing, right? So if you happen to have high crime areas and you drop a bunch of robots in there in those high crime areas and they catch a bunch of high crime, what the fuck difference does the income level of the community matter if the crime is actually being created or done?
The way we measure that crime is the problem. So if they policed as heavily in those neighborhoods, in white neighborhoods, they would find just as much crime.
but
It's
that's
about
all,
the
all
oversaturation of
data driven.
policing that
Okay, so
raises
let's
the
assume
reason
that
the data
there's
is
a
driven
model.
that way.
Wait.
Yep, let's
Wait,
assume that there's a data-driven model, and we entered a racist cop robot. Let's assume
wait. I was okay. There was multiple people talking at once. So what we're gonna have is I didn't really get to hear anything there. Nobody got to hear anything there. So what I'm gonna have is I'm gonna have Josie finish what she was saying. Then we're gonna go to more perfect union so we can have kind of like a clear indication of what you were both trying to get at. Josie?
Absolutely. So the reason that the data is higher in those areas is because of the saturation of the policing, therefore that's the only thing reported. So if you send, 25, 30 police officers to one area and you find all that crime with those 30 police officers, and then you only have the capability of 10 police officers in another area, of course there's going to be higher crime in that area because of the saturation of police officers. That's why the crime rates are higher in those neighborhoods, and that data is skewed. And that's because the data is skewed. That's what it is.
Yeah, okay. So assuming, right, that we've controlled for the racist robot cop programming, and we assume that we're going to place these non-racist robot cops in areas where the data-driven analytics show that crime is actually being done. What difference does it matter where they go? If the crime is high,
how is the data getting collected? Sharky,
But also, I think it's a really big
hang on,
ask
let me
to be
finish.
like,
Wait
Yeah.
a second. Wait a second. Assuming, right, that we've controlled for all of these different things, then the data would reasonably be expected to be accurate and valid and not skewed, right? That's the assumption that we're making, because all of this right now is pure fucking fantasy land talk. So assuming that we can have the fantasy that we want, and that fantasy is robot cops that are not racist, and that they're only going to stop people, or they're only going to be used or deployed in areas where there is legit data-driven high crime. What the fuck difference does it make what the income level is, or the wealth of the neighborhood matter? If if there's crime being done, don't we want the crime not to be done? Don't we want to protect the civilians that are in those areas, regardless of their income? Isn't that something that we want?
Okay, so the only way that premise works is for you to admit that there's a massive problem in the opposite right now that we need to fix.
Well, in the future state, right? We would have worked these things out.
So we know that there's a problem,
Well,
and we need to resolve those problems to fix the data.
I'm not saying that, because I think while there are, and I don't, this is not going to become a conversation about racist cops, no matter what you guys want to do. To the extent that there are bad cops, bad policing, bad technique in society, we have a societal obligation to correct that, right? If that goes into the future, and we're talking about using automation, AI, and so forth as an extension, right? An extension along the continuum of doing good policing for the good public benefit that a civil society presents, then we can assume that we are actively working to try to reduce or eliminate these problems where these biases, whether they're programmatically done or they're institutionally done from like human beings, right? That those things are reduced over time. So
Yeah.
if we do that,
So
my argument is simply this: if we do those things, then if we find that there are pockets of crime that are being reported by the people who live in those neighborhoods, and we decide to drop robot cops in there as a means of deterring or capturing or reducing the amount of crime. Is that a bad thing?
No, but I have to
would
accept
argue
the
that it's not.
premise. Right, but the premise again is in a perfect universe of legislation and regulation where the data is actually good and we can trust it. So therefore, you would have to agree for me to agree with your premise that the current system is broken.
No, I don't think so, because we
Also,
talk.
I
So
think
there
we
you
would have
go.
to.
So it's a
Oh, hold
BS
on,
argument.
hang on. The left talks about data-driven, data modeling, data this and everything else when it comes to COVID, right? But when it's a stat that you don't like, then
I
you
can
have a
speak to
problem with the
this.
stats.
No, I told you why the stats were wrong, and you didn't listen to that.
Can I speak to this? So just so everyone's aware, this tracking technology exists. There's things called edge boxes where you can put this computer on a light pole attached to a camera, and this device can actually track the license plates and image what the numbers are on these things, right? So let's say we remove the police that are doing their routine maintenance and stuff around the city. All we have are these little edge boxes that track the license plates, and then what happens is they get phone call reports of the different crimes that are being reported. All of this data is being driven through this central database that's not even touched by anyone. All of the phone calls are being factored into it and adding weights to all the different individual phone calls and traffic sightings. And when they actually see that, hey, license plate ABC1234 is being reported and identified to be in a lot of these areas and whatnot, we should investigate this vehicle. So they send a cop out, and it sure enough turns out that this particular person doesn't meet your agenda quota. It, in fact, is a person that is identified as being someone that violates crimes. That is a data-driven model that is very short-term feasible that might not go your way, Josie, unfortunately.
Well, I mean, we needed the data, but I know, but that's an assumption too. As a researcher that actually collects data from subjects all over the country, like we still need the research. And if you do the research and it has strong methodology, then sure. But you can't just assume that the data that you're trying to collect is going to skew your way or my way. You just need to do raw collection.
Right. And it doesn't, and it's not biased towards a race or whatever. It's data driven.
Sure,
It's
but
based on phone call
But
reports,
I don't understand why
eyewitness
you said
report,
that last
and data-driven
piece.
models.
I
Because
don't
the data
understand why you
might
said
not
that last
support.
piece.
Because the data might
And it
not
might not
support.
support you either.
I don't have any dogs in this particular fight. I want crimes to be solved and for the society to be better.
Yeah, so do I. But it just sounded weird the way you're like, it may not go the way you did. Like there is already an assumed like area that is crime, and it's probably going to be that same area. I just want to make sure we're not just trying to gloss over that, because that's important to know.
I mean, crime happens in certain areas more than others. It's been proven in data. I could probably find reports of cross-referencing phone call reports versus arrest reports versus suspect reports. I could probably look up that information.
I mean,
hopefully in
data
this
is screwed.
technologically progressed future, we will also be working on ways to reduce poverty and other breeding grounds for crime.
Yeah,
Sure.
Because everyone's investing in Bitcoin, and we're all.
I mean,
everyone is mining Ethereum with their
True,
right?
True. Hear
We
that,
can
guys?
Dogecoin.
If you want to fix the criminal justice system, believe in Bitcoin and Ethereum. Okay. So I think that's where we're probably going to be wrapping up for tonight. So we're going to have everybody do an outro and their ending statements on this topic. I'm going to start in the top left-hand corner. I want to thank you all for coming here today. Once you do your outro, you're free to leave or stay till the end. We'll start with Dr. Heem Dowd, who I am, again, starting a podcast with. Oh, and for everybody at home, it takes a lot of time to put this roundtable together. I would appreciate any support you want to throw my way. Bits, donations, or investing in the soon-to-come Dylan coin. Throwing it over to Heemed.
We're doing the plugs as well, yeah? Okay. So in closing on this topic, I understand the concerns, obviously, as I mentioned, with the taking over of the world of the robots and that whole meme. I understand why people are concerned with that. But again, I'm just going to reiterate that it's easier to tweak an algorithm to be less biased than it is to tweak the mentality of an entire police force that's full of fully grown adults who have lived decades of their lives and have soaked up whatever kind of bias that they may have. It's so much easier to have transparency and to have adjustment that's needed if there's anything that goes wrong. We already have tons of robotics when it comes to policing, when it comes to medicine, when it comes to so many different things. I'm pro speed cameras and red light cams and stuff like that. I hope that this, again, I think we all agree that we just want best outcomes, right? We want like innocent people to die less. We want racial prejudice in the policing to be rooted out. So whatever way that can be accomplished, I'm all for that. I had a fucking amazing time today on the panel. I met a lot of you for the first time. Some of you I've known before, and I hope we can chat again in the future. If you want to check out my stream or my YouTube channel, Dr. Heemed Out, I stream Monday to Friday, 5:30 a.m. to 8 a.m. Eastern time, and because I do cancer research after that, and I do debates and all the good shits. Come through. I have a beard cam, and I'm starting a podcast with Dylan soon, so be on the lookout for that. Thank you, guys.
Next is going to be Wooden Sock.
Yes. So I think in some capacity robots could be useful. Like I said, with barricaded situations and stuff like that. But in general, when we talk about traffic violations and whatnot, I think that it is assuming everyone's guilty without letting them plead their case a little bit, right? No discretion. So like there are positive aspects to human policing, and there's negative aspects to human policing. So it could go either way. But I think it's overall gonna be a negative thing. I feel like it will end up leading to over policing in certain areas. And I don't think that's what we really want society to look like. I'd rather have a society where people can, explain their stories, right, and talk to the police, and hopefully they make the correct decision, and either decide to punish the people or kind of let them off easy. So I think I'll take the centrist argument. In utility, it's good. In overall policing, not good. And Dylan, thank you for having me. I appreciate it. It was nice meeting everyone here. My first time on like the big boy hippy dippy. So it was a pleasure, and I hope to be back here again sometime. It was a pleasure meeting all of you.
Happy to have you on. I'm sure you will come back. You have a good one, okay?
Thanks. See you.
We're
gonna throw it over to Hutch.
To be concise, the robots are coming, and that is inevitable. We're not going to get away from that. So the sooner that we can start to have the conversation about how do we apply this technology, how do we program these AI, then I think that we're headed to a better outcome. But if we frame the debate like, should police have these technologies? It just kind of reminds me of like, should the police be abolished argument? That's not going to happen. There are much more constructive conversations to have, like how do we reform the police? So, it's a good idea to start having these conversations now. But I mean, we should really start thinking about what is inevitably coming down the line. So, yeah,
wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming on. You have a blessed one. Okay.
You too, buddy.
Wonderful. Okay.
Are you gonna kick me out of here? Is that what's happening?
No, they've chosen to leave.
Oh, I'm sticking with it.
Wow, that's very nice of you.
I'm seeing it through.
Wow. By the way, Hutch, I don't know if I've ever told you this, but I don't have a lot of people who understand like this online world in my like life space, right?
Mm-hmm.
But one of the activists who worked with me on the Gravel campaign, on some local school boards, saw me tweet out one day that you were going to be on a panel, and he freaked the fuck out. He was like, he was geeking out on how much he watched you play COD when he was growing up.
Yeah, I'm kind of a big deal, so that makes sense.
Yeah. He said that you were always the worst one.
Oh dear. Oh
yeah.
well, tell them I say hi. Tell them I say hi.
Kidding. But I'll be sure to. You want to give him a shout out, actually?
Shout out to the
I
to
can
the
give you
person.
his name. He's public figure. Jake
What's
Burdett.
his name? Jake Burdett. What's up, Jake? Shout out to you, buddy.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Mhm.
Now he has to work for me on my campaign. Now I'll throw it over to Sprouticus.
You can find me at DSprouticus if you like the points that I brought up, or if you liked my thought process and stuff, whether or not you agree with it. Go ahead and give me a follow on DSprouticus. I always talk to people who disagree with me. I find it as good intellectual debate when you can talk to someone who disagrees with you, and you guys can have a cool, calm discussion about the topic. But yeah, if you like it, then go to my Twitch. It's DSprouticus, or follow me on Twitter at the same name. It's DSprouticus.
Thank you so much, Sprout, for coming on. I know you usually get piled on, but I appreciate you being the sacrifice victim.
Oh, not a problem.
Not a problem at all. Going over to Josie. Josie Rose.
All right. Well, again, Dylan, thank you so much for inviting me here today. I know you get, dogpiled yourself when you do these things, so I hope you just keep it up. You're doing great. I really appreciate it. It makes me happy when I see these invites.
Thank you.
So, you can follow me at twitch.tv/JosieRoseC, like right here on the screen. And I don't think we can see nameplates on the screen. Josie Rose C. If you like my takes, I have been doing more panels. I am doing more one-on-one interviews, just talking out ideas. We are possibly starting something called Tag Team, which is going to be a fun thing. So stay tuned for that. So just hyping it up a little bit. And yeah, these arguments were really interesting. I did like the nuance of the final topic of the police topic, because it really does show how far we have to go before we're at the point where we can actually trust robotics to go into communities, because of so many reasons that are so entrenched in what society looks like. And I want to see that work done, because I do think that there is a possibility for something better. But if you like takes like that, if you like takes that are about persuasion and conversation, well, I'm here. We talk a lot about trans rights as well. So please, please, please follow. Thank you, Dylan.
Thank you very much. We're going to throw it over to Shark Zero.
All right. For the finale, I guess. For me personally, I've never been a big fan of facial recognition. The police having way more tools to surveil the general populace. I'm just really nervous about. I think we should all be like really skeptical of the way the police will use those certain tools, especially after we saw what happened in 2020. I do think it's a really good point that we should think of like some positive bias as well, because if like community policing is a really big thing. How do you have community policing with a bot? A lot of the times having police just walk around and be a part of the community can lead to a lot of great outcomes, and even better policing than just kind of cold. We're gonna hit every crime. We're gonna ding every person for doing anything wrong. Like I said, it can be a really big thing when it comes to over policing and broken windows policing as well. I think it's a really big thing to ask. What if there is no bias? I mean, I think that's an incredibly big ask. At the end of the day, you put in biased data, you're going to get biased outcomes at the end. Like I said, I think personally, we have to fix the police as they are right now before we get to that sort of like overarching surveillance policing, if that is ever going to come. And I think still, I don't think that it's the same thing as saying that a police need to be abolished, saying that they shouldn't use some tools. We say, I mean, police, I'm pretty sure still have arms, and we say that they can't put people in chokeholds. I mean, we can just say that they're not allowed to use these certain tools in that certain way. I think that's I personally don't think that that's as big of an ask. I think that, having them not use like fully automatic guns can also really be a really big ask. But thank you, everybody, for having me around. Thanks for talking tonight. I appreciate all of you for being so epic and how we say in my community, Pog. My name is Shark300. That's the word shark, the number 3, the letter O, and the word 0. Thank you so much for having me on. I hope you have a great one.
Thank you so much. Now we're going to throw it over to More Perfect Union.
First of all, Dylan, thanks. I appreciate the invite over here. I think the discussion with everybody on the panel was respectful. There was a lot of nuance among all the topics. So I'm glad to have the opportunity to be on my first hippy dippy. So thank you for that. And thanks to everybody who was on the panel. I learned something about each of you. Some of you guys I knew. So I'm grateful for that. With respect to, and I don't stream that much, but I'm on the twitch.tv, the More Perfect Union. You can find me a lot of times on CTV's panel, Critically Thinking Veteran, which he does a midday stream and then occasionally other different things. So with respect to the article at hand, I think the question of whether or not you have robots doing policing, I think to everybody's point, there's a lot of concern about doing that until you understand how you would do it in an efficient, effective, and fair manner. I think you have to take a pause on that and make sure that you've developed that plan very cleanly and concisely. That said, we still have room for robots and robotics and automation within various different technologies. We see a lot of it deployed already. Things like ShotSpotter, a lot of data-driven analytics, predictive policing models, and stuff like that, where they actually look at crime statistics to run forward, as Turk had said earlier. So, to the extent that we can get from here to there and be mindful of the challenges that we've had with policing in various communities and so forth, I think that's fine. We should take that in consideration. We should keep propelling ourselves forward. So with that, I appreciate the time very much, and you guys have a good night.
Thank you very much. And we're going to wrap it up with the Turk.
Yeah, so before I go on my opinions, y'all can find me at youtube.com/theturk. I do science and tech streaming and stuff. Valve just launched their Steam Deck, which is their handheld gaming device that's based on the PC platform. Definitely go recommend y'all.
Can I ask you a quick question? Should I get it? Yes or no? Yes or no? That's your only two options.
I would need to know if you play games on a mobile device.
No.
Then don't.
Okay.
So before being rudely interrupted, when it comes to police and robotics, there's always room for implementing types of technology into the flow. And it's all a matter of what technology solves what problem. Now, I highly I do hardware development for a living. I actually helped develop some of this, tinfoil hat, Big Brother stuff. Go and look up edge boxes. Go and look at the type of surveillance state that the country that India is going to be putting forth, because they're going to be able to track all of the different road traffic that's going on, collate all that data, put it into databases, and do all that sort of stuff. So it's like, this technology is here. As much as you guys want to say that this is all fantasy and whatnot, the technology exists. It all depends on how we want to deploy it and how we're going to actually use it. And that could be a good thing. It could be a bad thing, but that's for another debate.
I am muted. I'm a professional streamer. And thank you for allowing me to just ask you that question besides having to do any of my own research or Googling anything. I believe in giving other people complete authority over my lives, parasocially. And Josie Rose, I wanted to ask you a question.
Yes.
Why is it that with these glasses, I look like 10 times more of a queer than without the glasses? Which
I would
it's a
think
true
you look
statement.
smarter.
Ooh, that is, you know what though? I can see what you're talking about a little bit. I could see it. Do you want that though?
I mean, it's not a bad thing. I don't care if I look like a homo, right? That's fine, because it's not like a false advertising, right? It's I've labeled the product. It's like labeling something kosher. I mean, it's not false advertising.
I will tell you one thing. The flag in your background makes you look more like a queer than the glasses.
You know what? I think
it's a flag.
I think the rainbow flag might be making me look a little bit gay. I don't know what would give that perception though, but that seems to be something that people like keep thinking. They see the rainbow and they think, "Oh, gay." I don't know why. I just know that that's God's creation. It's God's natural gift.
Can I ask a genuine question?
Sure.
And
why do we have to judge people by the flags they have in their backgrounds? Can't we judge people by the way they actually like communicate and whatnot?
True.
But it's funny because Because we like, it's funny, like the queer streamers, we throw rainbows in the background, and all like the strong uber conservatives throw guns in the background. And I'm just like,
Hey,
going on,
those are
American flags
motherboards.
and guns.
I'm throwing them
Graphics
off. I
cards,
got the,
motherboards, processors. Come on.
I'm
Nice.
throwing them off. The gay flag, Maryland flag, and then the American flag. Nobody knows what's
Yeah.
happening. Nobody knows what's about to happen.
Nobody at all. And you got the boxing shirt and everything.
Oh,
So
yeah.
it's just like mixing it all up.
Yeah, I need to start like putting up random country flags. Countries I've never been to, don't even understand.
Yeah, right. Yeah, but you're pretty chaotically gay. It's good. It's a good thing.
Yes. What are you gonna say, Turk? Nothing. Okay.
For another
Yeah.
debate.
Got it.
Yeah, for sure. Another debate. Hey, Shark, if you want to do a cool down session, I'm down.
Awesome.
Yeah,
gonna-
sure.
Awesome.
Yeah.
See y'all later. Thank you for coming on.
All right.